Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Friday weekly AMAS US session today. If you guys can see and hear me, all right, we're now live on YouTube as well as on Facebook. So you can see and hear me, guys. Just type a GM for good morning. I think some of you have already typed the name of the US stock that you want, but let me know if you guys can see and hear me. You can see my screen as well. Good morning. Welcome to our Ask Me Any Stock session. Let's see who's joining us here today, all right? Okay, good morning. Good morning. I think we can see your comments coming up. Thank you so much. We have a VC right over here. Hi, Anne as well. Andy, and good morning as well. Let's see. We have John, Serena. Hi, good morning, Serena. Andy, Alexander. Good to see you here as well. Bat Guan, thank you so much for joining us every week. David as well. Good morning, guys. Welcome to our AMAS Ask Me Any US stock session. So you have been following me for a while, right? Essentially since the beginning of the year. Well, we have been doing this live shows every Friday at 10:30 a.m., right? And that's where we pretty much go through the stocks that you guys are asking about, right? And we alternate between the US market and the Singapore market, right? So every Friday we'll go live, rain or shine, all right? Whether is it 1%, 2%, or 3%, and we'll go live, right? So today will be the US market, right? Yes, you heard it right, US market. So I think some of you are typing like some Singapore stocks inside. Sorry, today is not Singapore. Next Friday, I know it's National Day tomorrow, right? But last Friday we did Singapore. So today is US. Next Friday, then we'll be back to Singapore, all right? So if you are looking at the US market, right? Any US stock, doesn't matter whether is it Apple or Microsoft or Nvidia or whatever, right? You are in the right place, all right? So would it be okay if you guys help us to like and share, right? Just hit the like and share button. Help us to kind of like, spread the love, right? Spread the love so that we are able to reach out to more people as well. More people can join us, more people can ask about the stocks. And of course, we'll try to cover the most popular stocks that a lot of you are asking about, all right? So welcome. And let's get started today, right? So I have Z with me today, all right? One of my team members. I'll just do a quick introduction a bit, but very quickly, guys, we'll do a quick market outlook, right? Quick market outlook. We look at maybe the S&P 500 index, all right? S&P 500 index, and some of the reasons why we have seen a little bit of weakness, right, over the past few weeks, all right? And what happens is that we'll cover the US stocks that you guys are asking about as well, right? And at the end, there will be two bonus US stocks that me and Z will each share one, all right? One of the stocks that we did see a couple of bullish signals coming out on my 1GT Pro indicator, all right? There could be potentially more upside. You might want to put it in your watch list as well, right? And that will be two bonus US stocks at the end. Make sure you stay all the way to the end, right? And that's after going through all the US stocks that you want a quick opinion on, right? So let's get started, right? So yeah, Bervin, all right, one of my team members is not with us here today because Bervin is kind of like doing his national service duties on reservists. He's helping out at the Padang for the national service. So I'm not too sure whether any of you are going to like the parade tomorrow at the Padang to see the national parade. You might bump into Bervin, right? He's there helping out, I think doing some logistic stuff, right? So Bervin is not here today, all right? And we have Z over here joining me. So Z is one of the top brokers under me in Philip Securities. Have been with me for more than 5 years now, assisting our team with the group coaching sessions, our one-on-one sessions, our mentees as well, and assisting our team's portfolio manager as well. And Z is also what we call a chartered market technician, right? In short, CMT. So anything to do with charts, anything to do with technical analysis, candlestick, price action, patterns, whatever. Z is a go-to expert. Of course, she's very well-versed with my one good trend strategy as well, which is pretty much what we'll be using today to analyze your stock. So let me just pass on the mic to Z, maybe to share a few words about herself. Mike, Z.
All right, thanks, Joey. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Z. Thanks Joey for the introduction. So yeah, I've been with Joey's team for close to 5 years now, same as Bervin, right? And specializing in making technical analysis simple and actionable because I don't believe in anything that's like too complicated, right? If it's too complicated for you to understand, there's no point, right? There's no point. And that is where the 1GT Pro indicator can come in as well, right? So a big fan of charts, trends, and making technical analysis simple for you guys. So understand that tomorrow is actually National Day, right? National Day weekend. While everybody probably would be looking for the best best spot to, watch the fireworks and things like that. But today, like what Joey mentioned, we'll be focusing on the US market, right? And we will analyze as many US stocks that you guys actually request in the chat for us later, right? With Joey's 1GT Pro indicator to actually spot the trend and give you a very quick opinion without the noise, right? So that's a pretty quick summary about myself and also what we'll be doing later. And over back to you, Joey, to actually kickstart today's session.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Z. So, yes, as I say, guys, so you have been joining us. If you're just joining us right now, welcome to our Ask Me Any stock session. Today, we're looking at the US market. And if we have never met before, right, this is the first time you're scrolling through YouTube or Facebook. Just want to introduce myself as well in case I forget, right? My name is Joey Choi, top tier reminder trader in Phillips Securities. So I've been doing this for more than a decade now. My focus, my forte is in stocks, right? Singapore stocks, US stocks. We do some Hong Kong stocks as well. But stocks is pretty much what I do for almost 2 decades, right? So of course we do conduct some trainings as well to impart my strategy, the one good trend strategy. In short, it's called 1GT strategy, right? To thousands of people. All right. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the entire strategy, what you can do is to attend one of those free webinars, right? Today, we don't have the time to go through and break it all down for you, all right? It's just pretty much about, just your US stocks, pump, and me and Z will just pass the mic to each other very quickly, right? So if you want to find a bit more about the entire one good trend strategy, well, the link is right in the chat. Z has placed the link there. So just click on it. Maybe later or can save the link somewhere. Register for a free webinar. All right. Maybe let me just show you the page that you go to, right? So the link's in the chat. You can go to click on the link in the chat and you will come to this page right over here, right? How to 3x your stock portfolio in 2025 with my proven one good trend, 1GT framework, right? So I will share with you in this live online session as well that is happening next Tuesday, 12th of August, right? Next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. So we'll go live, all right? It's after National Day, so hopefully you'll be free as well. And I'll show you guys how to actually identify and pull out the top 1% of stocks, right? Not just in the US, but also in the Singapore market and know exactly what to do with them, all right? So yeah, check it out. This is the link. You come to this page. I look forward to see you a little bit more, all right, in the 1GT webinar to share with you guys about the entire strategy. Okay, so let's get started. Right now that you know me a little bit more, let's go to talk about today's session. So just a quick disclaimer, whatever that's being shared today, right, is just for education purposes only. So please do your own due diligence, all right? It is really not to ask you to buy or sell anything or not to do anything or not to buy or not to sell, but essentially just to give you guys a little bit of a quick opinion based on a proven strategy, proven framework, all right? Do a little bit of homework, do a little bit of due diligence as well, all right? And yeah, just want to make sure that I add value, me and Z add value to you guys over here in today's AMAS session. All right, so let's get started. Let me go to cover the markets right now. All right, let's pull out the markets. How many of you want me to talk about the markets, right? Or the S&P 500 index? Just type S guys in the chat if you want me to cover the S&P 500 index. Pretty much the index that accounts for the top or tracks the top 500 stocks in the US, right? Very, very popular index that a lot of people look at as well. Type S in chat if you want me to cover the S&P 500 index. All right, let's see. S, Ray, Andy. Very good. So let's just do very quickly, guys, the S&P 500 index, right? So, every AMAS session, we just do a quick market outlook just to update you as to how is it looking like for the market, right? Are we seeing weakness? Is there a bearish signal coming out? Do you want to be careful? Do you want to sell everything away, right? How is it looking? So let's take a look at the S&P 500 index, and you can see that this is the market, right? So as I say, right, for the one good trend strategy that I've been using for more than a decade now, right? Well, we have this one good trend pro indicator right over here, right over here. And it doesn't just work for stocks, right? I mean, as I say, my forte is in stocks, right? But for this one good trend pro indicator, it works for any asset classes, right? Whether is it crypto, forex, Bitcoin, whatever, right? But my focus is in stocks, but it works for any asset classes, even the market, right? Even the S&P 500 index, which we just pulled up over here, right? In a matter of seconds, you can turn it off, pump, blank, nothing, right? It's like got to do a manual analysis, but in a matter of 2 seconds, pump, let's turn it on, and you get an opinion, right? In seconds, right? If you see a green bullish signal, then a bit more happy, all right? But if you see a bearish red signal, then maybe a bit more careful, don't rush, right? Maybe be a bit more patient to think about when to get in. Does it make sense? All right, so this is the one good trend pro indicator, and let's see how it looks like on the S&P 500 index, right? So very quickly, I'll not go too far, but every time you see a 1 GT bullish signal, there's just one confirmation that we look out for. We have a total of 7 confirmations, right, that we want to seek, all right, before any potential entry, all right? So this is just one confirmation, but you can see it's pretty good, right? I mean, the longer term trend is up. We got a 1 GT bullish signal. Another confirmation would be the short term trend turning up as well based on the green line. And there we go. All the way up. Another 1 GT bullish signal that was in May last year. There we go, right? But as I say, when we see a bearish signal, right? So that was in like February, we got not one, but we got 2 1 GT bearish signals for the market, right? And that was before all the tariffs that Trump was potentially going to announce in April, right? The market sold off. We went from 6,002 to 5,000, all right, in about 2 months, right? Of course, the green 20 days moving average line started to turn down, where the short-term trend went down. So I think we mentioned as well, you want to be patient, like, don't want to rush. As I say, if you see a bearish signal, right, just chill a bit lah. Don't need to rush to get in, right? But wait for some stability. Wait for some signs of a reversal coming back, all right? Then you get back in, right? Wait for a new 1 GT bullish signal coming back, like what we see over here in like 29 April, over here, right? Then you think about getting in, all right? As one confirmation, of course, the green line that was going down also started to turn up. Does it make sense so far? All right. And it goes up. And right now, let's take a look at the green line, right? Well, I would say that the green 20 days moving average line that was going up since like April has now started to turn sideways a little bit. Does it make sense? Well, let me just see. All right. So you can see sideways a little bit. Not really down, but also not really up. I would say a bit sideways. Does it make sense? All right. So nothing wrong. I mean, it just means that we have turned from a uptrend in the short term, all right, to a sideways trend, right? So the longer term trend is okay, or you can see that the red and blue line potentially crossing above. So longer term trend slightly pointing up, short term trend from up, right, from April up, now becomes sideways. So that just means we are back to some short term consolidation, right? But let's take a look at this thing, right? Finally, right, you can see we got a 1 GT bullish signal. That was in April, right? We got another 1 GT bullish signal coming out in June, all right? And July started to push up even faster, right? But what has happened over the past 1-2 weeks, or finally after like 3 months, we got a 1 GT bearish signal, all right? 1 GT bearish signal. That doesn't mean what we got a bearish signal is why you will start coming down, That just means, as I say, that's just one confirmation, right? That just means that we are indeed seeing some selling coming back, a little bit of profit taking, all right, which I think is okay as well, all right. It's healthy to see, a little bit of profit taking, a little bit of it moving sideways or consolidating for a while before hopefully attempting to push even higher, right? And let me just show you exactly why the 1 GT bearish signal actually appeared. So one of the very powerful features, right, of the 1 Good Trend Pro indicator is that, we have this trailing support and resistance right over here. Let me turn it on, right? 1, 2, 3, pump. And there we go, right? So when the first 1 GT bullish signal actually appeared, right, we have a trailing support that pops up. So this trailing support, look at this green line, right? Up, flat, follow. As the name sounds like, it trails, right? It follows the price or the market, right? If it moves even higher, but don't follow too closely, right? You give it the space, the breathing allowance to hopefully move even higher, all right? And if you're above the trailing support, then you're fine, all right? And chill, right? Continue to ride it, continue to maximize your profits and allowing the stock to go even higher. But over the past 2 weeks, so I mean, the reason we have talked about, right, why we have seen a rebound over the past 3 months, of course, with Trump introducing tariffs in April, we have sold off heavily. But then, right, of course, there were some deals being made of tariffs, escalations. I mean, the escalations between US and China in terms of the tariff, you have cooled off, you have de-escalated down to a very low level already. Of course, deals are being made with the European Union, Japan, Indonesia, Korea along the way. And that was a positive thing. Of course, the past 1-2 weeks of some tariff news coming out as well. Trump has introduced like tariffs, 100% tariffs on on semiconductor, right? Who are not committed to building or committing their manufacturing plants in the US, right? That's where you impose like 100% tariffs. But a lot of countries are kind of like benefiting slowly, realizing that they need to probably shift some of their manufacturing plants into the US. And Apple have popped up as well, has went up because he's also committing to building the plants in the US, right? So we've seen at least a little bit of certainty coming in terms of the tariffs front, all right? And yeah, I think of course there's some economic data news as well coming out, earnings results coming out as well, right? But I think over the past 1-2 weeks, definitely a little bit of a selling pressure, and we have broken below this trailing support line. Look at this, as I say, this trailing support give the market the space to move up, right? Follow. And it's the fact that we actually went below it. Of course, it's rebounded a little bit, right? But we actually went below the trailing support. So yeah, it just means a bit of selling, which is okay, right? But let me just go to show you what could be like a support level right now. So I think right now, right, consolidation for the market would be from 6,200. So let me just draw this support level. So 6,200, I think, would be kind of like a near-term support for the entire S&P 500 index, right? I think as long as you stay above it, it's still okay. You see, right? We neared it, rebounded back off. Even just last month in July, couple of bullish candles coming out here, and we push away from this 6,200 support. So 6,200 all the way to be simple, I think 6,500, right? 6,500 or 6,450 would be a little bit of where some selling pressure can come back in. So we might just consolidate, right? In the short term, from 6,200 to 6,500, right? That's it, takes a little bit of a breather and hopefully attempt to break 6,500 to push even higher. All right, so this is the pretty much the S&P 500 index. Finally, we got a 1 GT bearish signal coming out after 3 months. Doesn't mean it's bearish or not. I think, yeah, I mean, if we go below, as I say, 6,200 would be a support level. So how do we know if the market has turned bearish, right? That means like, wow, you want to be careful because it's going down. You don't want to rush to get it. How do we know that? Well, let's take a look at what has happened previously. In February, right, as I say, we got 1 bearish signal, we got 2 bearish signal, all right? And the green line that was going up started to go down. Does it make sense? All right. So the question I have for you now is that, is the green line kind of like, down like that? I mean, no, right? I mean, it's not pointing down, it's like up or maybe flat, right? So if the green 20 days moving average line were to like point down, that would be a confirmation that the short-term trend has indeed turned down. And of course, if we do break the 6,200 support level, well, we may get another bearish signal coming out. Then you want to be careful, right? That's where I would say that the market can see a potential retracement back down, maybe all the way to 5,008, maybe all the way to 5,005. Then we will take a look at when to probably get back in again. Does it make sense? All right. So that's how, having a tool like this, an indicator can guide you. All right. To be careful, maybe to get out when the time comes. All right. To take some profit, to take some money off the table. I think that's perfectly fine as well, especially for stocks that have gone up by quite a fair bit. All right. But so far, so good. Probably just a short-term consolidation from 6,200 to 6,500 for now. All right. Okay. So that is the S&P 500 index, right? So now let's go ahead to cover the US stocks that you guys want a quick opinion on, right? So go ahead to type in the chat, guys. Type in the chat the US stocks. Let me just go through very quickly. So how it works is this, right? I will just go through now 1 US stocks. I'll then pass on the mic to Z, all right? And Z will pass on the mic back to me. And then we just go very quickly, right? We try to cover about 10 to maybe 12, 15 stocks every session. And forgive us, guys, if we cannot cover all the stocks. Each time we calculated, right, there's more than 50 US stocks, more than, that a lot of people are typing in the chat. So we cannot probably cover all of it. It'll take like 5 hours or something, right? So hopefully you understand, right? You can join us in the next AMA session if you want us to cover it again, all right? Okay, so let me just go to look at the chat to see what are some of the US stocks, right? So today, guys, is the US market. I think some of you are typing about like the Singapore market, right? Like we have like Alex, like thinking about DBS. Sorry, Alex, today is US, so DBS is Singapore stock. All right, so next Friday, but anyway, DBS not too bad. We have kind of like broken above that 45 resistance. We had a couple of bullish signals, but unfortunately, we'll not be talking about DBS today. We'll be looking at the US market, all right? Okay, so let's see what are the US stocks that you guys want. Type in the chat, guys, type in the chat. And one thing to take note of is that when you type in the chat the US stocks, right, guys, give us a little bit of context, right? Give us a little bit of a context about the US stocks that you want a quick opinion on, right? Don't just type AAPL, right? Let me know, like, AAPL, what do you want to know about AAPL? Like about Apple, right? Are you looking to buy? Are you looking to sell? Maybe you got in like 1 month ago at this price, or 1 year ago at this price, that kind of thing. So at least when we kind of like give you a bit of an opinion, it's a bit more personalized. Does it make sense? Rather than just one APL, I know whether you want to buy or sell, right? So give us a bit of context. We'll give more priority to those of you who give us the name of the stock, the name of the US stock, and also a bit of context, so that I think we can add more value to all of you over here. Does it make sense? All right? Okay. So let's go to see, right, what could be the stock. Let's see. Okay, let me cover the first one. Energized Mood. Thank you so much. All right, great to see you here again. I think every Friday you have been joining us, right? Maybe most of the Friday, right? Okay, thinking of buying coin, COIN, since crypto on the right. So coin is one of those stocks that is pretty much tracking like kind of like a crypto. All right, so let's take a look at coin. COIN, Coinbase, right? Let's see. Where is it? So COIN, Coinbase. Where is it? Right over here. Coinbase Global. Let's click on it, and there we go. Okay, so this is Coinbase. The code is COIN, right? So as I say, guys, for any stocks, right, what we do very quickly is to say we can turn on the One Good Trend Pro indicator, say to get an opinion in seconds, right? To get an opinion in seconds, there we go. All right, it's blank, nothing. Turn it on, and you can quickly see that we did have a couple of signals coming out already, right? So for Coinbase, you get, not too bad. We got a bullish signal in September, all the way out. We got bearish signals in February, right? And don't buy lah, right? And then there we go, right? From like 320, we go all the way to 160. Then if you buy, you cannot stuck lah, right? So don't buy when you see a bearish signal. You can get in when you do see a bullish signal over here, right? Plus the short-term trend turn up. And there we go all the way up, all right? 79%, all right, in about 3 months. How is that, right? So that's where you can see that we got a bullish signal plus a few more other confirmations. It will guide you to get in, all right, to ride the reversal. But let's zoom into what has happened now, right? Well, finally, we got a bearish 1GT signal coming out, right? Why do we even have a 1GT bearish signal coming out? Well, let me go ahead to turn on the trailing support. One of the features, all right, as I say, from the One Good Trend Pro indicator, right, that when the bullish signal actually appeared in April, right, it popped out, it followed Coinbase as it moves higher while giving it the breathing space, all right, to hopefully move up more. So as long as Coinbase is above it, right, actually okay, no problem. I mean, the green line was going up as well, right? So short-term trend is up. We're above the trailing support level. Great. Hopefully you go to 500 or 600, right? If it stays above the trailing support level, right? But what happens over the past week? Well, it went below. Can you guys see? It went below the trailing support level. So this trailing support kind of gives the stock the natural kind of like moving space. It accounts for the volatility, right? And essentially, it's what we call a structured volatility-based trailing support, right? Whereby if you're above it, you're fine, right? But if we give you the space and you should be above it, but yet you one day go below it, right? Then not so good lah. There's some heavy selling coming back, right? So of course that's the reason why we got a 1GT bearish signal. Plus, you look at the green line. Don't need to bluff yourself lah. The green line that was going up, is it pointing up or down right now? Let me know, guys, in the chat, right? What do you guys think about the green 20 days moving average line, right? Is it pointing up or is it pointing down? Let me know. Type in the chat, guys. What do you guys think about the green 20 days? So a little bit on the strategy part, all right, right over here. What do you guys think about the green 20 days moving average line? U for up, D for down. Type in the chat. Let me know. Right, so I can share a little bit of the strategy part, right? Not the whole entire thing. It will take like, probably 1 or 2 hours. As I say, you can attend a free webinar, but maybe there's a little bit on the strategy on how you can, use it, or you can use this tool to help you. So down, Alexander, better run, all right? ST, down as well, right? Down, Gerard, down, which is correct now. So we don't need to bluff ourselves. I mean, up means up, down means down, right? Don't need to, actually it's up. No, it's down, right? I mean, anybody can see that this green 20 days moving average line that was going up has turned down. So we got a bearish signal coming out. The short-term trend that was going up since April, right now is August, has turned down. All right. So I would say, okay, back to your energized mood, right? What is asking, right? Thinking of buying coin, right? Since crypto on the rise. So normally, I would say we wouldn't want to buy a stock if First of all, there's a bearish signal. Second, if the trend is kind of like turning down in the short term, right? So we want to wait for a confirmation to get back in, like, when we see a new 1GT bullish signal coming out, or maybe the green light. So let me just show you what I mean, right? Like, for example, let's say, it starts to go down. So maybe I'm just saying, we may see some support coming out around 275 or maybe around 240. You can see, right? That was pretty much where we were in May to June before, we got a 1GT bullish signal and all the way up, right? Does it make sense? So we may see some support coming out anywhere from, I don't know where exactly, but 240 to 280, all right, around there, right? We may see some potential bargain hunting coming back, right? Not I say one, it's just based on what we have seen previously, based on buyers actually coming out near these support levels. Does it make sense? So if we hit over there, right, and we see a new 1GT bullish signal, we see the green line that was going down start to maybe stop going down and be like flatten out and maybe start turning back up like this, that you can see, right? In fact, it's something like this, right? So let's say it go down, and then it starts going back up like this. You see another bullish signal. So if you can kind of like take this and you can like copy and paste over here, something like that. Does it make sense so far? Right? Then that is where you can think about getting in, right? Where you get the confirmations to write the reversal. But if you get in now, not say cannot, but if you get in now, then it might go down a little bit more. You're just getting in because it's cheap, which I agree, it's cheaper than last week, but there's no confirmation of a reversal to get back in. But if you get in, if you see like over here and you take and copy and paste over here, and you see a bullish signal, the green line also turn up, that would be signs of a reversal. That is where potentially you can position yourself to get back in, right? To ride the rebound. All right, energized mode. I hope that helps, right? So thinking of buying, well, you can put in your watch list. Don't you buy now? You can be patient, all right? And that's what I think would be for Coinbase, right? If it does hit to those support levels, we may see some bargain hunting, but we want to wait for those confirmations to get back. All right, so let me pass on the mic to Z to cover the next US stock. Z, or yours?
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think the next US stock I'll be covering by Alex, right? Alex is actually asking about ARM. So let's take a look at ARM, right? The code is ARM. And Alex is actually asking, investor in ARM average cost probably about 117 based on recent earnings announcement. Is it worth holding on or buying more or probably to sell, right? So you're holding and you're thinking whether should you add on more position or should you actually sell and take some profits, right? That's a very good question. So how do we actually have answers for that, right? We can actually take a look at some of the levels, right? Definitely, the support levels and the resistance level to have potential zones of entries and perhaps also potential zones whereby you can consider to take some profits. Okay, so first thing first, when we look at the trend, right? When we look at the trend, what can you tell from the trend? It is not exactly okay. If I were to look back, right, when it first actually launched on the market in 2023, definitely it seems like it was an uptrend, and subsequently over the past year, we see that it has kind of just been going up and down. It has more or less been within kind of like a range, right? And it's very easily we can kind of spot like some of the key support levels that we should take note of. So firstly, number one, it will be around the immediate one, will be around 120, right? It's one of a psychological level, and we can also see that previously prices have kind of like bounced off from this level, broken down. It was a resistance for a bit of time, right? During the April period, when the Trump tariffs announcement first began, right? And then it actually rebounded back up, became 120, became like a support again. And last night, price closed at 135. It is still holding above the 120 psychological support as of now, right? And in terms of resistance, what can we tell? Definitely 180, I would say, would be the psychological resistance. Why? Because back in July, this was when it actually hit and even break above 180, right? But selling pressure is actually too strong. It pushes the price back down way below, back to $100 right over here, right? It came back down and selling pressure returned. And subsequently, once again, somewhere in late Jan, right over here, we can see that it tested 180 again, didn't break above, right? And very recently, somewhere end of June, it neared it, right? Didn't even really touch close to 180, didn't manage to get close to it, and selling pressure returned once more, right? So these are, I would say, the two immediate levels that perhaps, Alex, you can actually take note of, or maybe set some price alert around this level, right? And if we take a look at the signals, right? The signals, like what Joey actually mentioned earlier on, what signals do we see, right? If I were to zoom in, maybe a bit more, let's see, So the most recent signal, what do we have? We actually have a 1 GT bearish signal coming out, right? 1 GT bearish signal. So like what Joey also mentioned earlier on, when we actually see a 1 GT bearish signal, it doesn't mean that, okay, the stock will actually crash or what. It just means that there is more selling pressure returning, right? And there is no need to rush to actually buy into any position, right? And plus, if I were to take a look at the trend, right? Remember when we talk about trend, what do we look at? We talk about moving averages. And if I were just to focus, ignore everything else, all right? Just focus on the moving averages, which is the green and the blue line and the red line. What can we see? The green line, 20 days moving averages, has also started to point down, right? It has started to point down. So it means that there is some short-term weakness, right? And it coincides with the 1 GT bearish signal. And secondly, if we look at the longer term moving average, the blue and the red line right over here, they are kind of like just heading sideways, right? They are just heading sideways. They are not pointing up. At least they are not pointing down. Okay, at least they are not pointing down, but they're just heading sideways. And if we take a look a bit deeper at the sequence of the moving average, ideally in an uptrend, what do we want? We want the green, then the red, and then the blue, right? That means 20 days, 100 days, then the 200 days. But in current situation, the red is actually below the blue. So it's not exactly an ideal uptrend at this point in time as well, right? So to answer your question, is it worth holding or buying more or thinking about selling, right? I think if prices, right, as long as prices is actually able to hold above the 120 key support level at this point in time, right, it is still okay, but you don't have to rush in to actually add more position, because ideally what we want to see is to have more confirmation, right? Number one, the confirmation that we can see from would be to spot for another 1 GT bullish signal, something like that, 1 GT bullish signal coming up. And secondly, the other thing that we can also spot for is for the red line, the 100 days moving average, to actually cross above the blue line, to have more confirmation that the longer term uptrend has showing some signs of it turning up rather than it going sideways. Because if it continues to go sideways, all three moving averages continue to go sideways, potentially what we can also see would be a sideways consolidation between this range like we have drawn, right? The 120 support and the 180 resistance. And if you are thinking of taking some profits, where can we potentially take some profits? And the rule will always, the general rule of thumb, right, is always near the resistance level, right? This is where we can consider to take some profits, be it partial profits, full profits. Near the resistance, nothing wrong to take profits, all right? So these are some of the levels that, Alex, perhaps you can actually set some price alerts to actually alert you if prices were to head up to the 180, then that's where you can consider take some profits, and also to take note of some of the other confirmations that we are looking out for if in the situation that you are thinking to actually add more position. All right. So that would be for arms holding. I'll pass the time back over to Joey to actually cover the next stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Let me go ahead to share my screen, right? And let's take a look at the next stock, right? And we have like energized mood. This session is good, so can't miss. It's one of the highlights of my week. So great, energized mood, right? I hope you get a better opinion on coins, which is pretty much the first stock for today, right? So let me move on to the next stock. Right? I think one of you is asking about this stock. Let's see, Shopify. I'm not on Shopify, right? Just pull up the Sky, right? Thoughts on Shopify. The code is SHOP, right? Thinking of buying. Thank you so much, Sky, for giving us a little bit of context. So I'm thinking maybe you might want to sell, maybe you bought last year or something, right? So now you are thinking to buy all right? So then we need to think whether, does it make sense to buy? Can it go up even more, right? Or maybe it might dip to certain levels. Then you can consider what the potential entry zones, right, to think about buying if you want to buy, right? If can be bought in the first place, all right? So let's take a look. Shopify, $151. Wow, $151. Not too bad. So you can see, guys, right over here, this is Shopify. Well, we have been in a pretty good, I would say, longer term uptrend since last year. This is by looking at the red and the blue line. So when we see the 100 days moving average, the red line crossing above the blue line, and both of it starting to point up, I would say it is a pretty good longer term uptrend, right? But then the red and blue, right, since like beginning of this year, right, it actually both started to move sideways. The red one sideways, blue one still pointing up. They turned a little bit from up to sideways, right over here, right, from last year to a bit sideways. But you can see right now, well, red and blue both starting to turn up, red going back above the blue. So I think the longer term trend has started to turn up because we've broken a very key psychological resistance level, right? And this level is none other than the 130 resistance level. Look at this. Since December last year, we nearly came down. Touch it, come down again. Right? In fact, last week, touch it, come down. Right? But today, I think there was some announcement being made, right? I think there was some pretty good surprise in earnings to the upside, 21% upside surprise, all right? And that's where it started to gap up, right? On a pretty good set of earnings or results that was being announced, right? So we have broken the 130 psychological resistance level that we have been trading for about 8 months below. So that is a good thing. That's a good thing, right? So normally when we see a stock, as I say, right, consolidating below resistance, every time you touch, come down, but even 5 days, never come down. How come suddenly it starts to break above it and go up? Well, that is a sign of strength, right? Does it make sense? Right? That is where buyers are prepared to move it to a higher phase, all right? Or that's where sellers that have been capping that stock for the past 8 months, right? Whereby every time you touch and come down, right? Now the sellers is still like, surrender or say, okay, sorry, y'all, please carry on. Y'all can start to go up already, right? That's what is actually happening, right? It's like kind of like going from a small road to an expressway, whereby you're free to go already, right? To a higher phase. So there's something more bullish. There's something more bullish, right? Especially with the longer term trend starting to turn up, especially with the short term trend. Let's take a look at the green. Let's take a look at the green 20 days moving average line. So this green line that was going down, all right, all the way until in April when we had the tariff and stuff, right? Started to turn up. I think right now still pointing up lah. Does it make sense? So the short-term trend is up, the longer-term trend starting to turn up. Let's turn on the 1GT bullish and bearish signal to see what it says, right? So actually what I've done is a manual analysis, which you can do it, right? But sometimes I'm very lazy, right? So as I say, with this tool right over here, in a matter of 2 seconds, I can just 1, 2, 3, pump, and then do it talk so much, right? Basically, let's see if there's any bullish or bearish signals. There's another confirmation to guide us to actually get back in maybe earlier, all right? So, this one we got bearish signal. So we, since March, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 bearish signal. It starts going down from like 120, 130 all the way to $80, right? So of course, when you see a bearish signal, then please don't go and buy, all right? You want to be careful, right? You want to wait for the reversal signal. Then when did that come? Well, that came in May. Look at this, May. So many bullish signal, pump, right? And we started to move up slowly, and there we go, right? I mean, from this bullish signal coming out right over here, I would say a 54% in about 3 months. How's that, guys? 54% in 3 months, right? I mean, okay, it went up a bit higher. So back to your question now, Sky. Thinking of buying, I mean, I would say better if you buy 2 months ago when when you saw this bullish signal, it's a bit cheaper, right? But not saying cannot buy now, just that a bit more expensive, right? But actually still okay. Let's see what could be the potential entry levels or potential new higher support levels that you could think about getting in, all right, on dips, if it does dip to those support levels. So very quickly, right, 130 is a very key psychological resistance level that we have broken above. So this resistance would potentially turn into a new support level. So let me just turn this red line back to green line, because that would be a new support level. So I think potential entry could be anywhere above 130. In fact, I could turn on the trailing support level. Let's turn it on, 1, 2, 3. And you can see that this trailing, so you can see this trailing support is also right at 130. Does it make sense so far? Right? So this trailing support, as I said, right? It follows the stock, it gives it the space to move up. If you're above it, you're fine, no problem, right? So, of course, prices has gone up, so it also followed it up even more. Does it make sense? All right. So now from when it first came in, when $91, right? Follow, now become only 130 already. All right, are we above the green trailing support line? Answer is yes, all right. Is there some space between the price and the line? Yes, there's some space. Why? Because we give it the space to breathe, right? As long as you're above it, you're fine. So I think potential entry levels could be anything from 130. I'm not too sure exactly where. I'm really not too sure whether it will go down for you to buy at 135 or 134, and then it's okay, you buy it now, I can go up already. I don't know whether you'll do that, right? So the point is that nobody knows exactly when it will go down for you to buy, and then you go back up, all right? But what we can know is that as it dips to certain levels, from 130 to 140 to 145, around here, that could be potential entry zones, right? Whereby it's slightly cheaper, slightly more attractive, right? And that could give you an opportunity to get in on dips to ride the next phase of the uptrend even more, all right? And it could be all the way to, 180, 200, all right? That could be where we could see some selling coming back again, right? So I think potential entry could be anywhere from 130 to 140, maybe a bit of resistance, like I could say, near 160 for now. Seems like that's where some selling has happened over the past 2 days, all right? So that would be Shopify. Not too bad, not too bad. I think we got some bullish signals coming out. We're above the trailing support, trend indicators, moving averages are all pointing up. The only thing is it's a little bit more expensive, but it still looks good above 130 to even 140. All right, so that is Shopify. I hope that helps, Guy. All right, let's move on to the next US stock. Z, all yours.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so the next stock that I'll be covering will be GM, right? General Motors, and I think that is by First Last, right? First Last is asking about GM. Seems to reach the resistance. Any profit taking or break up? Okay, let's take a look at GM and see where are some of the key levels that perhaps we should take note of, right? And whether is there any is it currently near a resistance or not, right? So for General Motors, I mean, for the trend, right, if we take a look from 2024, it has been in an uptrend, but subsequently towards the end of the year, right, Q4, and for the whole of 2025, so far, we have just been seeing some sideways movement and consolidation, and we can also spot several support levels and also key resistance level to take note of, right? Very first thing, obviously, somewhere near this $60 right over here, right? This was actually the all-time high, right? I believe. Oh no, not the all-time high, but it was actually the high at the end of 2024, right? Because 2024, it has never reached this level, right? So it went up to $60. That's where we saw selling pressure coming back, and we got a 1GT bearish signal, and prices came back down. So I would say very immediate wise, right? $60, this is one of the resistance level for us to take note of, right? And secondly, the second resistance level, right, that we should actually also take note of, right, would be around, I would say, this 55 level, because subsequently somewhere in January, right, late December, January, this 55 level, right, was actually tested multiple times as well, as you can see right over here, right? And then selling pressure came in, pushed the price back down, prices near it, didn't break above, and this is where we are at right now over the past couple of months, whereby we are actually seeing, prices heading back up near the 55 to actually retest this resistance once again, right? So I would say 55 definitely will be one of the levels, the immediate resistance level for you guys to take note as well, especially for first and last if you're actually holding on to this stock, all right? So right now, over the past few months, prices have been near this 55. So from this, we can actually tell that at this point in time, is prices near a resistance zone whereby profit taking could actually happen? I would say yes, right? Because over the past few months, it has been testing this 55 level. Okay, so if you're holding on to this, particular stock and you're thinking about taking some profits, I think there's nothing wrong as well for you to take some profits near this 55 as it is at the resistance level. All right, and plus we actually do see a 1GT bearish signal coming out. But the thing is that we have a 1GT bearish signal coming out, but it doesn't mean that the stock will crash, right? Like what I mentioned earlier on. And we also see, based on the price action, if I were to zoom in, prices quickly rebounded back up, and we see a very long bullish candlesticks, and prices managed to continue, to fluctuate and hold close to the 55 level. And if I were to turn on what we call the trailing support, right, and resistance, like what Joey has shown you guys earlier, as you can see right over here, prices rebounded quickly, and it actually went back up to actually inch back up, right, to retest this this trailing resistance, right? So if prices can actually break and hold above the trailing resistance, including this 55, right, this horizontal resistance that I've drawn earlier, right? If prices can break and hold above this level, definitely we'll get another 1GT bullish signal, right? And that is where we also have a confirmation that potentially the price, if it can hold and break above this 55, potential upsides that we are looking at would be definitely back towards the $60 because this was where the selling pressure came back somewhere, at the end of 2024. All right. And in terms of, support level, maybe some of the support levels that first last you might want to take note of, I would say somewhere near this level right over here. Right? I think this will be a very crucial key support level to take note of because this was where, buyers came back in to support it one time, two times. Somewhere in April, this was when the tariff happened. It actually broke below it, but subsequently it managed to rebound and hold above it firmly, right? And right now it is still holding above the 44 level. So For first last, right now I would say definitely prices is within the profit taking zone, right? There's nothing wrong to actually take some profits if you are considering to take partial, half, or full profits. Nothing wrong. But if prices can break and hold above the 55 potential upside targets that we are looking at, definitely would be towards the $60, provided that price can break and hold above 55 with more confirmation such as the 1GT bullish signal appearing as well. All right. So that would be for GM. I'll pass the time over back to Joey to cover the next US stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Let's move on to the next one, right? So let's just go a little bit faster right now, all right? So when we go ahead to cover the stock, guys, we will straight away turn on the One Good Trend Pro indicator. As I say, right, this is pretty much the indicator that me and Z have been using. It's based on my One Good Trend strategy, right? So give us an opinion in seconds. So let's turn it on and see what it says. So this is CrowdStrike. I think ST-Lim, I hope you're still here, right? What is the entry point of CRWD, which is CrowdStrike, one of those cyber security kind of stocks, right? So this is CrowdStrike right over here. I've already turned on the 1GT Pro indicator in terms of the bullish and bearish signals. You can see right over here, right? So for CrowdStrike, every time not too bad. I mean, the longer term trend has been up since like 2023. We've got a couple of bullish signals and pump all the way up 95% in 6 months, right? And as I say, when you get bearish signal, you want to be careful. Look at it. We got 2 bearish signals all the way down, all right? All the way down from like 425 all the way to 240, all right? So you want to be careful, don't rush to get in, right? You want to get in when you see a new 1GT bullish signal as a confirmation, and maybe even the green line that was going down also started to turn up as another confirmation. Does it make sense? And there we go, right? There we go. From here, all the way up, another 73% in 4 months. And then you see you got 2. Well, seems like you always like to have 2 bearish signals, then it starts coming down, right? You see here got 2. You take from here, you take and put here, right? Also got 2, right? And then it starts coming down again, right? Then after that, it goes down. I think we have like in April, we got another bullish signal coming out again, and it starts going up again, right? All the way up 24% in about 2 months. All right. So the question now is that what do you guys think? Let me know, guys. Should we rush in to buy right now, or should we wait and be patient? Right? Buy, type B for buy, type W for wait. Let me know, right? Just to help me answer ST-Lim as well. What do you guys think? Right? Should we wait or should we buy? What do you guys think? Time to chat, right? So all of us can help to hopefully give ST-Lim an opinion. So help me out, right? So maybe you can help me out. You see this on yourself, then you see whether you can also advise ST-Lim. Should we actually rush in to buy right now, or should we be patient and should we wait, right? So W for wait, B for just anyhow buy, right? That's good. Let me know. All right, let's see. Wait Vincent, right? Wait for the one. Well, some people, thanks Andy, more experience. Wait for the 1GT buy signal. Wait. All right, wait, don't buy. Well, some wait to, thanks VC, wait to the 400. Well, still got price level. Later we look at it, is it 400 or maybe 380 or what? All right. Wait. So I think ST, you can see, this one is what they say, not I say, right? I mean, this is what everybody is guiding you over here, right? Pretty much to be a bit more patient, right? To be a bit more patient, to wait, right? That's what most people are saying. But why is everybody actually saying that? Well, because first of all, we got a 1GT bearish signal. I think you can also see that we got a 1GT bearish signal coming out, right? So that just means a bit of selling pressure have came back, all right? We have broken what we call a trailing support. Let me show you. Definitely look at this, right? So this trailing support, you should be above one. I mean, if you're good, right? We give you the space, you should be above, right? But I give you the space, you still go below, then well, something not so good. Does it make sense, right? It means a bit of selling coming back and you go below it, right? And the green line that was going up also started to point down. You dare to buy, right? I mean, why not be patient? Wait for the selling to be over. Right? Wait for the selling to be over. Wait for this, 1GT bullish signal to like for example, right? Go down the green line, reverses back up the green line. So something like this. So you can take this and copy and paste over here. Something like this. So I'm not too sure exactly where. It could be 400. Okay, maybe we can draw this support level right over here. So I think 400. Let's take a look. 400 could be. It could be a psychological support. That was where we got a resistance previously in March. Look at this, right? March touch, came down, pam, wow. Then we got a 1GT bullish signal when we broke above the 400, right? And then all the way up, right? So we may potentially see, thank you, who is helping out with the 400 just now? I think, yeah, correct. 400 could be a potential support level whereby some bargain hunting can come back again, right? So STLIM, what is the entry point? I would say near 400, right? Near 400, but doesn't mean near 400, you're not going to buy, no, right? Near 400 is where we could see some bargain hunt. That's where you could open your eyes a bit bigger, right? To see more things, to see if there's any confirmation coming out, right? To guide you to get in, to write the reversal, right? So your question will be, then what would be the confirmation? Well, good question, huh? Well, we want to wait to see if there's any bullish signal coming out over here. I mean, it could be over here, all right? But once we see a new 1GT bullish signal coming out over there, plus the green line that is obviously going down right now, maybe stop going down, maybe flatten out a little bit, then maybe start to point up like what we've seen over here. Could that be a good confirmation like what we've seen previously? This one over here, pump, pump, right? Pump, Does it start to potentially move up because we get more confirmations of the reversal? Does it make sense about? All right, so that's what we could look out for as well. When a bullish signal appears, when we get another confirmation of the short-term trend actually turning back up, plus it actually hits towards this 400 psychological support level. All these confirmations will give me, more conviction for that reversal trade. But has it happened yet? Haven't yet lah, right? Maybe next week, I don't know. Maybe next week, I also don't know, right? But if it comes, then we can be alerted, right? So what we could do is that, maybe let me share with you, right? So what we can do is that, for all these bullish and bearish signals from my One Good Trend Pro indicator, right? As I say, we can turn it on in seconds on any stock, right? So we can just type the name of the stock, which is what we have been doing, and then we can turn it on and you can see lah. But some of you might ask me, hey Joey, but is it every time I must type the stock and then can see? All right, can it be like, when the bearish signal came out like 2 weeks ago, then you let me know that I get out, or maybe when the new 1GT green bullish signal come out, you say over here, right? When it come out, then can you let me know or not? The answer is yes. What you can do is to set an alert, right? So right click, set alert, right? Like, right over here, One Good Trend Pro, buy or sell. Normally set buy or sell faster don't need to choose, right? So buy or sell alert once per bar, create. So when there's any bullish signal coming out or maybe bearish one coming out, we can be alerted, right, by an app notification, right? Get this app notification, a toast notification, something like a pop-up over here, even send me email as well, confirm no one, then you can pull out the chart, then you can take a look and know whether to enter or not. Does it make sense about? Right, so that's how you can set alerts to guide you to get back in, not anyhow when the time comes, not yet right, when the time comes. All right, so this is CrowdStrike. So what happens, guys, if you want to have what we call a simpler version, so this is the One Good Trend Pro indicator, right? But we do have a simpler version that is called the One Good Trend Light indicator, right? It comes out with the bullish and bearish signals, right? So it's not so complicated. We don't have so many confirmations and advanced boxes and all that. Pretty much just the bullish and bearish signals. If you want to test drive it, well, what happens is we do have this One Good Trend Light indicator for free. You can just click on the link in the chat. Z, help me to place the link in the chat, all right? And once you click on the link, that's where you come to this page right over here. So there's a simpler version. You can go to test drive it for free. Most incredible free gift ever in the stock market, right? So test drive my One Good Trend Light. So this is not the Pro, this is a light indicator, the simpler version that you can turn on the bullish and bearish signals in seconds. Test drive it, and you get over $3,000 worth of pure training just for free, just to guide you, all right? Just for letting you test drive this tool that I'm sure can help you as well, right? To guide you on when to get back in, right? When the time comes. Does it make sense, right? So that is CrowdStrike. I hope you have a better idea. STLIM, thank you so much, guys, for helping me out to give STLIM an opinion as well. All right, so let me pass on the mic to Z to cover the next US stock.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think the next US stock, right, I'll be covering is by Emily, right? Emily is actually asking about CNM, right? Actually, to be honest, I don't really know what this company is doing. I just did a quick look based on the site. See right over here is actually a specialty distributor focused on waterways, wastewater, storm drainage, and fire protection, right? Okay, not too bad. But if we take a look at the stock, right, I think thanks Emily for sharing this, because definitely I will probably add this into my watch list as well. Because what we can see, right, for this stock, right, at this point in time, I mean, if we take a look back 2024, it has been in an uptrend, right, and multiple signals came out. Prices actually came back down, right? Selling pressure came back in. went back up again. But right now, what we are seeing, right, over the past couple of months, right, is that price have actually broken above the previous high right over here, right? And that level, right, I would say is definitely at 62, right over here, around 62, this level right over here, because this was actually previously a resistance since, May 2024, somewhere in November and February, it actually went up, right? But then it didn't even reach this 62. And again, once again, it happened somewhere in June as well. And in July, it actually tested it one time over here. But, didn't manage to break above. Selling pressure came back in. But finally, right on 22nd of July, somewhere over here, 21st of July, in fact, it actually managed to break and hold above it. And the past week on 1st of August, selling pressure came back in to retest this level, and it is currently still holding above it, right? So for Emily, you mentioned that you're thinking of entering it above a support of 63. So probably you're thinking about entering somewhere near 63. I think that's probably valid as well, because like what I've mentioned, right, 62, I would say would be somewhere which is the previous resistance turned to become what we call a support, right? And if we take a look at the trend, right, we see that the green is above the red and is above the blue, and all of them are actually pointing up. So in a sense, the moving averages are in a sequence of an ideal uptrend, right? And all three moving averages are actually pointing up. And plus, what do we see? We actually see also a 1GT bullish signal still playing out. There is no bearish signal yet. There is no exit yet, right? So in terms of, you're thinking of entering near 63, I think that's totally valid, because why it is actually near the support zone, right? Is the potential support zone of entries that we can actually position ourselves, right? And that's where we can consider to actually set some price alert. So just now, Joey was actually setting the alert for a 1GT bullish or bearish signal, right? So apart from that, we can also set some price alert. So maybe let me just do it very quickly right over here, right? So maybe about 60, somewhere about 62.80, 62.90. That's where you can set multiple alerts, right? Right click, and let me just price, and then 62, let's say 62.90, right? Maybe I can put every time and create. So that's done. I've created an alert at 62.90. When prices actually reach back to the potential zone of entries for me to actually take a look, that's where I can come in to actually monitor this stock again and to position myself for entry. All right. And in terms of resistance wise, what are we looking at? Definitely, I would say the resistance, right, will be very clearly at the 66 level, right over here. Okay, let me change this to red, because this was where somewhere, at July, right, end of July, that's where prices went up all the way to 66, but then didn't manage to break above. We saw selling pressure came back in to push price back down. So I would say 66 would be the immediate resistance that we are looking at, right? So we are looking at a potential of probably about 6%, right? A 6% range. But of course, entering is one thing. Entering is easy, right? You can buy at any price you enter, and you can also have like a target, right? You can also have a target based on the resistance. But the key thing here is always to have a trading plan in place, and to always to protect your downside. So the thing that this 1GT Pro indicator, right, apart from the trailing support resistance that we show you earlier on, one other function of this, when I were to turn it on right over here, this is where you can actually use this trailing support function to actually help you to gauge, your stop loss, right? To protect your downside. In case if the price, it goes up, come down, like that, and then, some bad news actually happen, or perhaps the earnings didn't meet the expectations, right? And it came back down, right? That could potentially happen, because we can never predict the earning result, right? And if that actually happens, you want to protect your downside. And that's where you can actually use this trailing support function to have a gauge as to where can you potentially place your stop limit order, right, to protect your downside. So for general rule of thumb, for the US market, we can actually, somewhere between 2 to 3%, slightly below the trailing support. That will be good, right? Because like what Joey had mentioned earlier on, the trailing support, as you can see, there is some gap, right, between the trailing support line and also the candlestick. It already gives it room to breathe, because it accounts for the stock volatility. You are just giving it a little bit more space, right? Because like what we know, US market generally is much more volatile, right? It can be something like that, right? It can actually break, it can actually go below the trailing support, but then at the end of the day, it can close above the trailing support, right? That could also happen, right? So that's why we are giving it additional space for it to breathe. But if it really does break below that level, then not so good, right? That's where you potentially want to get out of the position and to be a bit more cautious already. All right. So in a sense, Emily, those are some of the levels that you can take note, and just make sure that you have a plan in place to protect your downside as well. And that is where you can actually take advantage of the trailing support function. All right. So that would be for CNM, core and main. I think definitely I'll be putting this in my watch list as well to continue monitoring this stock. All right. So back over to you, Joey, to cover the next US stock.
All right, thank you so much. Let me go ahead to see what will be the next stock. All right, I think we have this stock. Okay, let me see. Right. Okay, so we have this stock right over here that is called Visa. I think Visa. Who is asking about Visa? Right. Let me just pull it out right now and share my screen. All right, Visa. Me pull out your comment. Okay, Catherine, right? Thank you so much, right? Just for giving us a bit of context as well. Let's see, right? Visa. Bought Visa, average cost 361. 361. Would like to keep for the longer term, right? Thank you so much. Should I buy some more now to DCA? So DCA stands for dollar cost average, right? Although the chart says otherwise, so not too bad. So you know the chart actually say otherwise, but you still want to DCA. So let's find out if Catherine would want to DCA. Maybe not now, but maybe when the time comes, when to get back in again, when there are signs of a reversal. So at least very good, Catherine, you know that, hey, we are indeed seeing a bit of selling. So you're looking to get in, maybe not now, but maybe when it does show some signs of strength coming back of it, potentially moving back up. So this is Visa. So Visa, you can see that we have been in a pretty good, I would say, longer term trend for Visa. So for this to be a longer term kind of like holding stock, I think it is okay, right? So you mentioned would like to keep long term. So quite clearly the 100 days moving average line, the red line and the blue line has always been, pointing up, right? Maybe sideways a bit, and then somewhere beginning of the year, it went up even more. Now the red is still above the blue, still okay. So longer term trend, I would say it's up. But in the short term, doesn't mean it's always up, right? In the short term, can also go down. And you see we got a bearish signal over here that was in like March last year, and then we went down a little bit from 280 to 260, correct? And then we got bullish signals coming out, and it starts going all the way up, right? And then got bearish signal, and then come down a bit more. Then after a bullish signal, then go up again. Does it make sense? So let's just fast forward to what has happened over the past 2 months, right? From my one good trend pro indicator, quite clearly you could see that the green 20 days moving average line that was going up in May started to point down, right? In June, right? Which is like last month now, right? Started point down, and then we got the first 1 GT bearish signal actually coming out. So when the 1 GT bearish signal comes out, plus the green 20 days moving average line also point down, it just means that, hey, there's some short-term selling coming back. We could potentially see some weakness, all right? Maybe to another lower support level. You just want to, if you're sitting on profits, you can get out, don't you take some profit. So you mentioned that you bought at 360. So I'm not too sure when you bought at 360, it could be over here, or maybe it could be over here as well. But by right, if you have seen the bearish signal, then by right, should not buy first, you get what I mean? Because it's like, a bit going down, it's a bit weak. You don't want to rush to get in to buy, right? But I'm not too sure exactly when, but of course, we see a bearish signal, you just want to be a bit more careful. Right? So let's say, right, we got a bearish signal and it starts to go down, all right? The green line, obviously, right now, you can see have also started to point down even more, right? And then yesterday, this is yesterday, right? 7 August. Last night we got another new, this is based on last night one, right? We got another new 1 GT bearish signal. So definitely still more selling coming back, not one, but now we got 2 1 GT bearish signal, plus the green line also point down even more, right? So just want to be more careful, right? Want to be more careful. Where could buyers potentially come back, and then you could potentially DCA then when it comes, when the time comes for the reversal. Not now, not tonight also. I think maybe next week, I don't know, right? But let it just stabilize first, right? Let the green 20 days moving average line just cool off a little bit, just stop pointing down, at least just flatten out. Don't need to point up, never mind, but at least just stop pointing down. Does it make sense so far? All right. So once it flattens out, it means that at least some bargain hunting has came back, some short-term support would have came back. But right now, it hasn't yet, right? Where could it potentially come back? Well, it could be anything from 320 right over here, or maybe even 300 psychological support level. Why do I say that? Well, because that was where, I mean, in April when Trump introduced tariff, everything sold off, right? That was where we neared it and rebound. See also in January, we neared it, rebound. So I don't know whether you come in and rebound, but does it make sense so far? Right? That could be where we could potentially see some bargain hunting come back. So if you're really looking to DCA, I mean, if you really can hit that, then really quite, to be honest, really quite attractive, right? So I mean, that's where you could really think about getting in from anywhere from 300 to 310 to 320. You get the point, around here, that is where it could look really attractive. But what you could do as well is that, besides just prices hitting there, what we want to do to get more confirmation, same thing, is to get potentially a new bullish signal, like what we see over here, right? A new bullish signal, over here, a new bullish signal, plus a short-term trend turning up. That will give us more confirmation, all right, of you taking that DCA trade to actually ride the rebound, all right, and not just taking the DCA trade just because it's cheap, all right, because it may go even lower. Does it make sense? Right? So one thing about DCA, guys, is that I think most people like to do what we call dollar cost averaging, which is fine. I mean, it's a good strategy, right? So it's a good fundamentally strong stock, very good uptrending stock. You buy at different prices, fixed dollar amount, right? You can't like average your costs along the way, right? It works fine. But if you're doing it on a stock and you just DCA as it goes down, right? Go down, you buy, go down, you buy, go down, you buy some more, go down, you buy some more. I can tell you, then it's really bye-bye to you, right? So we don't do DCA on stocks which are going down every other day or in a downtrend, right? Not saying that this will happen. I think this one is still okay. Longer term trend is still up, but just that when we DCA, we at least want to wait for a confirmation of a reversal. Then we position ourselves to get back in. I think that would be more kind of like a higher reward to risk kind of trade. You see what I'm saying, Sabah? All right. Okay, so that is for Visa. All right, Catherine, I hope that you get a better opinion as to where to look out for in terms of the prices and what to look out for in terms of a confirmation. So Z, back to you.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think the next stock that I'll be covering will be by N, right? N is actually asking about Moderna, right? I have a handful of Moderna at 70, so you probably bought at 70 with loss of more than 12K. What's your advice? Close eyes, chop it, or average? Okay, so maybe you can talk a bit about strategy, because now I know that you bought at 70, right? Somewhere around 70, but the question is, I don't know where you actually bought at 70. Was it somewhere around here, somewhere in December 2023, or did you buy, somewhere in, 2024, right over here, or was it even earlier, right, November here? Because the thing is that when you buy $70, that's okay, right? Because, but the question is, where do you potentially buy at which phase? Because the levels and the confirmations and the moving averages and the signals are all telling us different things at these three different phases. Because of course, if you bought somewhere, here 2020, right? Great, right? Because we can see that the moving averages are all pointing up. We get multiple 1GT bullish signal, price shot all the way up, right? To, even $440, right? Then, I mean, of course, now price is at about $23. Sayang, right? If you have bought at, somewhere here, went up to 400, never take profit. Come back down, regret, right? That is one thing that could potentially happen if you have actually bought here, right? The second thing is, if you can also, I'm also not sure whether you actually bought somewhere here, right? Towards the tail end of November 2023, near the $70. Here, longer term trend doesn't look that great, but at least we get 1GT bullish signal and short term trend is actually pointing up, right? So at least there's some sort of confirmation still ongoing, right? Positive confirmation. And then price went all the way up to 160. Wow, never take profit again. Now price go down to $20. Regret again, right? So this is another area that you could have potentially bought, right? And the last area that you could have potentially bought, I don't know whether you bought here, okay, is somewhere, towards the tail end, somewhere September, August, somewhere here, right, of 2024. But at this point in time, actually, the thing is that if we talk a bit about strategy, at this point in time, comparing to what we are actually seeing over here in December 2023, right, over here, right? Actually here, if we look at the moving average, by right, we should not be thinking about buying, right? By right, we should not be thinking about buying. Why? Because first thing first, very obvious, we see two 1GT bearish signal, not one, but two. And we are also seeing that all the moving averages are actually pointing down, right? So by right here, we should not think about buying, right? But now the thing is that you're already holding on to this stock and we cannot change the past, right? Whatever happened has already happened and now we can only look forward and what should we potentially do, right? So let's take a look at what has been happening over the past months and what are some of the price action that perhaps you can consider to take note of, all right? Because of course I understand that if you're bought at 70 and now price is at about 20, 26, right? 26 as of last night. Let's see, around 70 to 26. That's about, you know, a 62% decline. So if a stock actually drop to more than 50%, you actually need 100% to just break even. So definitely for a drop more than 60%, right, you need more than 100% to just purely even break even, right? So as of last night, price closed at 26.61, and we also get a 1 GT bearish signal, right? 1 GT bearish signal. And as you can see right over here, right? I would say the immediate support will be somewhere near this 23 to about maybe 23.50, somewhere around this zone right over here, because that was when in April to May, right? This whole month we actually saw, you know, buying pressure come back to actually support the prices at this level. But overall, if we take a look at the grand scheme of things, the bigger picture, right, we can see that the longer term trend is still not that great, right? It's still not that great. It's actually all pointing down, right? And right now, the 20 days moving average has also started to point back down again, and we also get a 1 GT bearish signal. So of course, I hope that, you know, if you have bought somewhere here, you know, at least, you know, if prices were to break below, you have a stop loss plan in place and you have already gotten out, right? But no choice. Now we are at this point, at this juncture, right? So if prices were to continue to break below and continue like this, and it breaks below the $23, based on what we are actually seeing now with the moving averages plus a 1 GD bearish signal, the likelihood of this particular stock seeing more weakness definitely will be higher lah. And that's where, you know, the likelihood of price going down lower can also be higher, right? Can also be higher. So I think my advice is that at this point in time, you may consider to actually reduce some exposure, right? To reduce some exposure, at least when you reduce some exposure, you can actually put the money into other stocks that is probably uptrending, right? Rather than a stock that is going down and down. If you continue to hold, your unrealized losses may get bigger and bigger as well. All right. So I think that is one thing that you might want to take note of, especially, you know, this very key support at this point in time, which is the 23, near this $23 to about this 23.50 lah. Because if it does break, I think very likely we might definitely see more weakness returning back to this counter, and prices may head even lower as well. All right. So, and can consider to reduce some exposure and maybe set some price alert lah. Okay, set some price alert on your side near this 23 level right over here. Okay, so that would be for Moderna. I'll pass the time back over to Joey to actually cover the next stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Let's move on to the next one, and that would be the trade desk. So as I say, guys, right, today, all right, we are just going through very quickly, all right, in terms of your US stocks, and we don't really have the time, all right. I mean, we're trying our best to share a little bit of nuggets, right, bits and pieces here and there, right, about the entire strategy. But if you're going to get a complete framework, understanding, systematic breakdown, step by step, then what you want to do is to attend a free webinar, right? I have a free webinar which is next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Next Tuesday is on the 12th of August after National Day, right? So 12th August, the link is right in the chat. Click on it, and that's where you could learn a little bit more about the entire strategy, and perhaps how you could even have access to this tool, or this indicator that we're using to analyze your stock, right? To guide you on when to get in and also when to get out, all right, when the time comes. All right, so link in the chat, register for free webinar to find out more, and I would can assure you that you will definitely get value from this webinar, right? Because we'll be diving into it in much detail, step-by-step breakdown. Okay, let's move on to the next one, and that would be this company right over here that is called TTD. All right, TTD, the code name is The Trade Desk. And Rajan, hope you're here, right? Could you cover TTD, right? My pleasure. Purchased earlier at 55, but it has fallen last night after bad results. Wow, really, man? So you wait, first of all, you purchased what price? 55. Wow, not bad, 55. That means you bought right over here, before it went up. So you're confirmed making money, because now it's 88, right? So congrats, Rajan. Sure, making money. In fact, I think you bought right over here when we got a bullish signal. Do you actually have access to this too? Right? Seems like you got it right over here, and then we got a 1 GT bullish signal coming out there, and it starts moving up all the way to about 88, right? So as I say, guys, this indicator gives you, I mean, any asset classes are up to you, but when you get a look at this pump, right? Bullish signals, long-term trend up, short-term trend from turning down, point up. There we go, all the way up. And of course, luckily you tell me you bought over here. I was afraid that you bought over here. If you buy over here, then, wow, really sayang, wasted. I mean, you can see you've got a bearish signal. It was like $130. That was in December. right? You've got a bearish signal, the green line point down. If you buy, then what? Jialat, right? Or another bearish signal 1 month later, all right? And then you go all the way down. So if you buy from here, anything you buy in January, February, March, die already, right? Already all the way down, right? We want to wait for a confirmation. So very good that you managed to buy at 55, which is pretty much right over here when we got the bullish signal coming out. So let's go back to your question, right? Purchased earlier, but yes, fallen last night after bad results. So maybe a bit scared, like should you sell or not? Maybe maybe coming back down already, right? Did it really come down last night? Yeah, a bit of a sell down last night, but I think don't need to be too scared lah. I mean, earnings results pretty okay. All right, pretty okay. Sometimes you might see a bit of uncertainty in terms of earnings, but even though it sold off last night, we got a red candlestick bar. All right, it closed slightly lower than the day before, but I think it still looks okay. First of all, the green 20 days moving average line is still kind of like pointing up. Does it make sense? The longer term trend in terms of the red and the blue line, of course, we want the red to be above the blue and both pointing up, right? So that could be the beginning of a longer term uptrend. So it hasn't happened yet, but I think if we can break above the 100 or 120, well, eventually the red, something like this, the red line will go above the blue line. Well, that will be a good confirmation that the longer term trend has turned back up. So right now, haven't yet. I mean, it's a longer term, so it take a while to play up lah. Does it make sense? Right? But the fact is that the short term trend, the green line, right, was up, maybe down a little bit, and now still pointing up. So the short term trend is up. Now let's take a look at what could be the support level whereby we must stay above, right, such that we are still okay, right? And that will be what we call the feature of the one good trend pro indicator. That's what we do, right? We turn it on, all right over here. And you can see that when we got the first 1 GT bullish signal coming out over here, right? It popped out. It was about $50. $50, it follow, flat, follow. Now becomes $78, right? Maybe about $80 lah. So I would say that, well, we're still above the $80, right? Green line still pointing up. As long as we stay above this 80 lah, 78 to 80, right? I think 80 would be a psychological horizontal support level. If you want to give it a little bit more space, which is where the trailing support is, like a bit of space, so slightly lower lah, 78 to 80. So anything above 78 to 80, right? It is still okay lah. Nothing to be too stressed about, all right? Nothing to be too stressed about. All right, you are already sitting on profits. So my question to you is very simple, right? What would be the level, right, such that, I mean, if it falls below, you want to take steps to protect your profits, right? Because you are sitting on profit, you should make money, right? So the worst thing is that you don't want your profits to become small profit, then become loss, then wasted lah, all right, all gone, right? No, right? You want to protect your profits, right? And so what could be the level such that, if it goes below, you want to get out and then you still make money, right? Well, that could be what we call a trailing stop loss. So this trailing support line, you could put a stop loss right over here, just below that 78. Maybe you can put like 75, 76, just to protect in case we will go below the trailing support level. We will get a bearish signal. The green line also start to turn down, right? You want to get out, you still make money. You don't want it to go all the way back down to your 55 and then back to square one again. Does it make sense? All right. So that is where you could put what we call a stop loss at. So, right over there, just to kind of like protect your downside, all right? Protect your downside such that when you make money, you don't lose back the money. Does it make sense? All right. And what I can say is very simple. If prices were to go even higher, right? $90 right now is a bit of a resistance, and we see that over the past 1-2 weeks, well, it touched 90, go back down, touch, and come back down again. So 90 will be a psychological resistance level. But I think by if we can break 90, we stay above 90, we go to 91, 92, 95, that will be good. That is where I can tell you that the trailing support level will follow it and go up some more, right? And that's where you want to shift. I mean, you can see, right? You shift your stop loss, right? Shift it up, and now it goes up, then you can shift up some more. Right? Hopefully you can shift all the way until 120, great. So it goes down, you hit your stop loss, you make even more money. Does it make sense? All right. So Rajan, I hope that helps, right? So I think still okay, right? Don't need to be so stressed. You're already making money. Now is to take steps to protect your profits. All right. And as long as it stays above the $80, I think it still looks pretty okay. All right. So Z, back to you for the next US stock.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so the next stock, right, I think will be by Wilson, right? Wilson, I hope you're still here. You're asking about Spotify, right? Spotify, is Spotify seeing better days? Good to enter now. Okay, so let's take a look at Spotify. Not too sure if you are holding on to any Spotify or you are just thinking about entering a new position, but let's take a look at the trend, right? So first thing first, trend definitely looks great, right? Longer term trend definitely is still intact. Red and the blue line is actually pointing up. Based on this, just this chart like this, right? You can actually see there's actually more 1GT bullish signal than bearish signal. But of course, even though when longer term trend is up, there could still be short term fluctuations, right? You know, short term, as we can see, there could still be selling pressure returning from time to time, and we also see 1GT bearish signal coming out, like instances like this, right? And right now, let's take a look at what has been happening over the past couple of weeks, right? And let's see. So let me just zoom in, and we can see that, you know, right over here, right, we actually have a 1GT bearish signal, right, on this day, which is on 22nd of July, just before actually the earnings came out. And even when the earnings came out, I believe it wasn't so well received, and prices actually get down, right? And we actually have a very long bearish candlestick as well, right? But and also, if I were to zoom in on the short-term trend, right, we also start to see, you know, we are seeing some short-term weakness basically, because the 20 days moving average has been pointing down. But longer-term trend still looks great, right? Longer-term trend definitely is still pointing up. So at this point in time, we are seeing, you know, prices probably is somewhere near, I would say, is a level at the support zone, right? I would say at the support zone, because the levels that, you know, the support that I draw maybe somewhere around 665, perhaps Joey could be drawing at 670, or maybe Bervin as well, maybe he could be drawing somewhere maybe 675, but it will be a zone, right? Because it is never a specific point. It's always a zone in terms of when we talk about support and we talk about resistance. So at this point in time, as of closing last night, right, price actually closed at about 686. So I would say at this point in time, definitely, I think prices, it is near, I would say it is actually near the support zone that we are actually looking at this point in time, right? Near the support zone, because previously this level, right, this level was a resistance, right? Back in February, you know, prices near this level came back down. And then over the past months, right, from May to June, this level was actually being tested as well, right? So I would say now price is actually within the support zone that we are looking at. But I think what confirmations that we want to look out for to position ourselves for entry, number one, definitely would be when the 20 days moving average, right, has started to flatten out. At least it don't continue to point down. We want to see at least it starts to like flatten out and kind of like go sideways, so that we know that, you know, the short-term weakness, right, didn't continue, right? The sellers are not there to continue to push the price back down and break below that support zone that we are looking at this point in time. So we want to see a stabilization in terms of the short-term trend, and perhaps if we can actually see another 1GT bullish signal, great, right? Because it would be something like this, right? Let me just show you guys. See, a 1GT bearish signal come out, and then we get a 1GT bullish signal, and then that's when price also started to head up as well, right? Because this was also where, if I were to remove all these and I were to zoom in, you see right over here, right? This was also where the 20 days moving average has also started to point up. So these are some of the signs that we want to take a look out for before we actually position ourselves for entry. So at this point in time, I would say yes, definitely we are near the support zone, right? Whereby we could potentially be thinking about buying, but we want to take a look at more confirmations to actually allow us to be in a higher probability winning trade. All right. So that is one. And in terms of resistance wise, I would say somewhere near this 800, right, psychological level, this is where I would say the immediate resistance could be. And if prices, you know, is able to stabilize, you know, at this level right over here before pushing higher, this is where we can also consider to actually set some price alert to take some profits as well, right? Because the longer term trend is still up. You don't have to probably take the full profits, right? Maybe half position, 1/3 position, that is also fine. Okay, so Wilson, I hope that helps. Those are some of the levels that personally I will also take note of myself, and those are some of the confirmations that I will also keep a lookout for. All right, so back over to you, Joey, to actually cover the next stock.
All right, thank you so much. See, let's move on a little bit faster. So let me just go ahead to cover, guys, what are the stocks that we have gone through. I think some of you are asking about the same stocks like Joshua, Coin, please, COI, and that was pretty much the first stock that we covered today, Joshua. So not to worry, if you miss any of the stocks, you can watch the replay. Rajan, thank you so much. All right, hope you got some value out of TTT, which I covered just now. All right, but I want to cover very quickly, guys, or just state the names of all the stocks, the US stocks that we covered today, right? So right at the beginning, we talked about the market, the S&P 500 index, right? So that was the very first thing. And the first US stock that I covered was Coinbase, right? The code is COIN. Second one was ARM Holdings. Shopify, GM, General Motors, and then I covered CrowdStrike, CRWD. Z covered on this stock called CNM. CNM is the code, right? Then I did Visa, Moderna, Trade Desk, and Z just covered Spotify. So covered a total of 10 over stocks already, right? We try to cover maybe a few more, maybe up to 14 or 15 over stocks, right? We do our best, guys. All right, but as I say, guys, there's more than 50, 60 over US stocks. So our apologies if we cannot cover all of it today, all right? No, thanks for your understanding as well. We try our best to cover the stocks as quickly as possible, right? So let me move on. Let me move on right now to the next stock, and that would be this stock called Celsius, right? Celsius, Prafu, right? Thanks for joining us today. I think you have joined us almost every Friday as well, right? Can we review Celsius? Yesterday came with good results, right? Shall I sell, right? Shall I sell? So it means you're holding up, all right? So you're holding, should you sell? Maybe you can go up some more, then you sell higher, make more money, right? Let's find out. So this is Celsius holding very quickly, right? I'll not go too far, but you can see, guys, that well, I mean, a couple of bullish signals in 2024, and we got bearish that's coming down. Wow, over here we got two bearish signals in June last year, and then all the way down. So just be careful, like you see a bearish signal, it came down from $90 until $30, like almost like 3 times cheaper, right? So just be careful, all right? But then what happens, right? Over the past, I would say 10 months, but finally, I think this stock has kind of like woken up. We have broken above a very key resistance level, and that would be the $40. Look at this, right? $40 was where we neared it, came down. Same thing, came down. All right, we were like kept below this $35 to $40. Does it make sense, right? But over the past 2 months, well, finally, we've gone above the $40, right? $40 psychological resistance that we have been trading below for almost 1 year, right? So that's a good sign, right? And let's take a look at the trend, right? The trend in terms of the longer term. So the longer term trend, we look at the red 100 days moving average line and the blue 200 days moving average line. Does it make sense, right? And you can see that this line, right, it actually was down. The red went below the blue in August last year, and then down even more, right? But over the past 2 months, can you guys help me out over here? Can you see that the red line, 100 days moving average, red line actually crossed back above the blue line, all right, after 1 year, right? And now the red and blue both starting to point up. You see what I'm saying, all right? So that could be a sign whereby the longer term trend has turned from down to up. Does it make sense, right? And of course, plus we broke above the $40 psychological resistance level, right? So not too bad, all right? So, Prafu, right, your question, should I sell? Well, I think that this stock is looking at more upside. I mean, it's more down than, it's more up than down for me. I think it's looking to be more bullish. Plus, yesterday, I think we kind of like, went kind of like above this little bit of a temporary resistance. Look at this, right? That was where we were in July, came down, a couple of bearish candle. Here, same thing, touched last week, also came down. But yesterday, we went above it, right? We went above the resistance level. So that's a good sign. I mean, of course, I think the results was pretty impressive as well. Came in above expectations, 56%, 12%. Earnings revenue came in, all right, above expectation. So that's a positive news. And that's where we get up above the resistance level. So not too bad, right? So if you take a look at the bullish signals coming out, the 1GT bullish signals actually came out quite long ago. In when? The first one was in February. Right now it's already August. So actually it was a bit more bullish in February. Yeah, February, then March. Wow, so many come out. So another one come out here, and it has started to push up already. I mean, from February all the way to now, I would say, wow, 108% already. So not too sure exactly what price you bought, Prafu, but if you have followed the bullish signals right over here somewhere in February or March, about 108% based on the current price right now, right? But then again, you might think, hey, 108% is a lot, right? Should you get out? Should you take some profit? Well, 70% was a lot as well when it was over here, right? 80% was a lot as well, but now it's 108%. Could 108% become 120? Could it be 130%? Well, there could be a potential because there are no signs of it, weakening right now. There are no bearish signal coming. In fact, it's actually attempting to push even higher. All right, so I think it looks okay. All right, longer term trend is up. The short term trend, looking at the green line, up, flat, up, now flat, but maybe starting to point up. Right, I think it's like starting, based on last night move, I think it's starting to point up. So that is where we could get more confirmation with it turning up next week, whereby the short-term trend has turned from sideways back to up as well. So I think that's where we could see more upside. Targets could be anywhere. Let's see, maybe I think right over here. Yeah, I think right over here, 70. Look at this, right? $70 could be where we may see some profit taking. Why? Because that was where we was a support, rebounded, same thing, support, but we broke down all the way down. So that is where we could potentially see some profit taking coming back in, right? So I think we'll take some profit, anything near 60 to 70, 65 to $70. Nothing wrong to take some profit if you want, but overall right now, I think it still looks pretty bullish as long as we hold above that $48 to $50, even better. That is where we could see more upside. All right, so that is Celsius Holdings, right? CELH. Z, back to you to cover the next stock.
All right. Okay, thanks, Joey. The next stock that I'll be covering will be from Damien, right? Damien, hope you're still here. You're asking about POWL, right? I got in at about 230. Want to know what's the outlook like? Thanks in advance. Okay, sure. So let's take a look at POWL, right? You mentioned that you actually got in somewhere around 230, and as of last night, very quickly, I can see that it closed at about 233, right? So let's cover some of the key levels that perhaps you should take note of, right? Maybe especially the resistance, because that is where you can consider to actually take some profits as well. Okay, so first thing first, based on the trend wise, right? Based on the trend wise, right now we actually see a 1GT bullish signal, right? And in terms of the trend, the short-term trend, definitely we are seeing strength, right? Because we can see that the green line is definitely still pointing up, right? It's still pointing up. And the longer term trend wise, the red line, it is, it was actually pointing down, right? Down, and then now it's starting to show signs of it pointing up. But the 200 days moving average, which is the blue line, has not just, been going sideways, right? It has just been going sideways. At least it is not pointing down, at least it's not pointing down. So in terms of your potential entry, in terms of your entry, right, somewhere around this 230, I believe perhaps you might have gotten in, somewhere near a support like this, right? Somewhere around here, because it has actually broken above this 220 level, and then you actually probably accumulated near the 230 with a 1GT bullish signal coming out. So at least I think now it's still not too bad, right? It's still not too bad, because at least we are not seeing signs of the trend turning back down, right? We are not seeing signs of it turning back down, even though, we have earnings seasons right over here, and results came out on the 5th of August, and the longer term trends does not have any signs of it pointing down at this point in time. And we also do not have any 1GT bearish signal. But what I would say is that, probably somewhere near the 260, right? Somewhere near this level, 260, I would say that I would not be surprised if there is some selling pressure or resistance coming back, because this was where, back in October to December, right over here, this was where we actually saw, this was actually a support level, and then it actually broken down. And subsequently, for the next couple of months, right, from December to February, this was where we actually saw resistance coming back in, right? Selling pressure coming back in, unable to break above. And then it never ever since then went back above this level until very recently, somewhere end of July, start of August, somewhere over here. This was where this level was actually retested once again, right? So I will not be surprised if, somewhere near the 260, right, we actually see some profit taking happening or returning. And that is where you can also consider to actually take some profits as well, right? Nothing wrong, because near the 260, this would be what we call this would be what we call a zone whereby we can consider, like a profit taking zone as well, all right? And if prices is actually, able to consolidate before actually breaking higher, and we actually see, the moving averages, right, especially the blue line, right, starts to show some sign of it, at least maybe pointing up or slope up slightly, right, then that's where we have more confirmation in terms of the longer term trend trying to be aligned with the shorter term trend heading up, right? That would be even better, right? And if prices is able to hold above this 260, which is the immediate resistance that I mentioned, potential upside targets that we are looking at perhaps could be towards the 350, even 360 right over here, all right? So those are the levels that definitely for POWL, right, I would definitely set some price alert to alert me, especially, near the 260. That's definitely one. And the next one will be maybe perhaps above the 260. If it's able to break and hold above 260, then it potentially might head towards the 360, whereby we saw selling pressure return back in November right over here. All right, Damien, so those are some of the levels and the potential outlook for POWL that perhaps you might take note of as well. Okay, so back over to you, Joey, to cover the next US stock.
Okay, thank you so much, Z. Let's move on to the next one very quickly, and that would be Anthony's stock, right? Anthony, hi, Joey and Z. Can look at this chart called Novo Nordisk. The code is NVO. Holding on the purchase price, so you got in at $48.50. Thank you so much. $48.50 now our price. Now it's $48.76. Yours is 50 cents. This one is 76 cents. Wow, only 20 cents. 20 cents more, right? Very good. So let's take a look at this stock. Should you even buy in the first place? What is the outlook? All right, maybe you might want to be careful, and let's find out, right? So you can see that for Novo Nordisk, right, Anthony. Well, essentially, right, if you asked me last year, whereby we were in a pretty good longer term uptrend, the red above the blue, we got bullish signals coming out, pump, all the way up. No problem, no problem, right? I mean, I'll say go ahead, right? I mean, you got bullish signals, the long-term trend is up, the short-term trend is up, fine, right? Just go ahead to get some positions locked in, no problem, right? But since I would say like September or end of last year, what happens was we got a couple of bearish pump, two bearish signal, right? Another bullish went up a bit, pump, two bearish signals came out. And the longer term trend, looking at the red and the blue line, as I say, if the red is above the blue, both pointing up, longer term trend is up, right? You're aligned with the longer term trend, which is good if you're looking to buy, right? But once the longer term trend starts to turn down, right? It means that we are kind of like going against the longer term trend if you are buying now, because the longer term trend is down, money you go and buy like against, right? So we try not to buy if the longer term trend is down. First thing, right? And then again, we got bearish signals, so it's even more weakness, right? And yeah, true enough, we might have a couple of bullish signal coming back, right? So bullish signal, it went up a little bit, but what? Pump, down even more. Bearish signals came out. Bullish signals went up a bit more, pump. Bearish signal went down even more, right? So it seems like what it's doing, right, this stock, is that the longer term trend is down, right? And so far what we've been doing is that we got bearish signals. It goes down, up a bit. Goes down a lot, up a bit. Goes down a lot, up a bit. Goes down a lot, I don't know, maybe up a bit. Then maybe go down a lot. Does it make sense so far? I mean, in terms of it, like, being in a downtrend, so that every time it goes up a lot and then sellers come back and then it go down even more, right? So we we never want to buy stocks like this that is kind of like against the longer term trend, right? So let's just zoom in. Okay, so I think you kind of like understand the longer term trend. Let's zoom into what has happened, I would say, over the past few months. So past few months, well, we actually saw a bit of support, maybe around the $60, $60. And then over here, rebound. All right, got a bullish signal. It went up a bit, but then bearish signal will come down more. All right. So we broke below the $60, right? A bearish signal have just appeared like on Tuesday, 29 July, I think last Tuesday. All right. Long-term trend, look at the red and blue still down. Green line obviously also down now. Bearish signal also come out. By right, we try. I mean, we never don't buy stocks like this, but there's a lot of confirmations of it going down and up, right? So not saying that it cannot rebound. Yeah, I mean, it can rebound. So I think what happens is right now, what you could do is to have a plan, Anthony, is to have a plan. If it does rebound a little bit, I'm not too sure exactly where. As I say, it rebounds a bit and then go down more, right? So it could be 50, could be 54, 55, or maybe near 60. And it goes up a bit, like this, up, down, right? Maybe up a bit and then down, all right? I mean, if it breaks $45, we could see the next phase of downside to $40 to $30. Then you might say, cannot be, right? It is so low already. Agree, but it has really came down from 130, then to 100 people say low, 80 also people say low, right? 50 also people say low, right? So it can be lower. Nobody knows how low it can go. So we try not to just catch a falling knives, just going in because it's cheap, because all these confirmations are all pointing more down than up. Does it make sense? All right. So I hope that helps. All right. So if you're going in at 48, 50, good, right? If it's a little bit of profits, I don't know, maybe anything above 50 to 55 or what, probably I'll get out, right? Take some profit, all right? Before, I'm just afraid that the selling might come back again and we might break 45 or 40 and we might hit even lower. All right, so that's a little bit on the mindset on the entire one good trend strategy, all right, and how this tool can help us as well not to buy, all right, especially if you see a lot of confirmations that are pointing down. Does it make sense, All right, so let me pass on the mic to Z. I hope that helps, Anthony. All right, let me pass on the mic to Z to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think the next stock that I'll be covering will be by Ian, right? Ian is actually asking quite a number of stocks like CRCL, AMD, AVGO. What are the support and resistance as per 1GT as looking to accumulate? Okay, so maybe for myself, I will zoom in on AMD, right? Because I think this is one of the stocks that we could potentially be seeing some uptrend reversal at this point in time, right? So let me just dive right into this stock right now. All right. So for AMD, as you can see, for the past year, right, 2024, 2025, it has just kind of like been going sideways within the range, right? And I would say that that range would be somewhere around this 129 to 130, somewhere this level right over here, right? To the immediate resistance, I would say about 180 lah. And if I were to take a look at what has been happening to the price action over the past months or so, let's take a look. And as of last night, price closed at 172, right? And based on the consolidation that it has been, trading for the past year from 2024 onwards, I would say that 180 right now, right, it is the immediate resistance. And price over the past couple of weeks has actually been testing this 180 resistance at this point in time, right? At this point in time. And if we take a look at the signals, right? I digress a bit. We take a look at the signals. Signals, what do we see? We actually see 1, 2, 3. 1GT bullish signals. Okay? And I haven't even talked about the trend. I talk about the trend now, which is the moving average. If we take a look at the moving average, what do we see? First thing first, 20 days moving average, it has been pointing up. Short-term strength, definitely we are witnessing that, right? Coupled with the 1GT bullish signal. Secondly, what we are also witnessing right now is that the 100 days moving average, which is the red line over here, it has actually been going down. Then after that, it curved and slowly sloping back up, right? And currently is actually attempting to what we call break the 200 days moving average. And if that actually happens, it actually gives us more confirmation that, the longer term trend has also started to show signs of it turning up, which is a good thing, right? Which is what we want to see, right? And that probably could happen if price can break and hold above this 180, right? If price can break and hold above this 180, with the fact that, the 100 days moving average crossing above the 200 days, the blue line, then definitely we might actually see more buying interest returning back to this counter. And the potential upside targets that we are actually looking at, right, would be towards this 220 level right over here, like so, right? And if I were to turn on, I were to turn on the trailing support and resistance, right? So in terms of maybe Ian, right, you're thinking about looking to actually accumulate some positions. I'm not too sure if you're already holding on to the position or you are, thinking of, this is a fresh new position, right? But what we can actually do is that, when I turn on this trailing support function right over here, right, turn on, turn off. Okay, so let me just turn it on. And we can actually use this trailing support function as a guide as well. Just now we were talking about using this as a guide for your stop loss. This trailing support function, right, can also help you to actually find out where is the potential zone of entries, right? Because this is where we can also potentially, position ourselves for entry near the trailing support as well. But of course, on the flip side, when we think about our stop loss, it will still be valid, right? You can still put about 2 to 3% below the trading support to protect your downside. That is one way that you can actually use this trading support function effectively and maximize it, right, for the downside and also for potential entries. Okay, so for Ian, I hope that helps, right, in terms of some of the levels that, potentially you can take note of, and also, the potential zone of entries near the trailing support and the immediate resistance at 180. But if what we are seeing in terms of the confirmation, prices can break and hold above 180 with, the moving averages crossing above, right, 100 cross above blue, potentially we might see more upside back towards the 220 level. Okay, so that would be a very quick one for AMD. I'll pass the time back over to Joey to cover the next stock.
All right, thank you so much. Maybe let's just go one more round very quickly. All right, I'll just cover one US stock, cover the next US stock, and then we'll dive into the two bonus stock at the end, the two bonus US stock that me and Z each like. All right, so that's where we can share with you guys, and you can also put in your watch list because we saw some bullish signals that could potentially be even more upside. All right, okay, let me go to pull out this chart, all right over here, called TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor. And who is asking about it? I think we have Styler, good to see you here. I think Styler has been joining us almost every Friday. Good to see you here, Styler. Thanks for joining us today as well. All right, so TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor, you sold at $233. All right? Is it wise to buy back since they are exempted from Trump tariffs, right? So we have seen a little bit of positive news coming out in terms of the semiconductor sector because really sold off pretty heavy due to these tariffs being announced, right? But now we've got some of those companies, right, or semiconductor firms committing that they kind of like shift their manufacturing plants, from China, maybe a little bit back into the US. That's where they are getting an exemption from these tariffs. It could be a bit of a good news, right? Something like Apple, right? Apple, most of its iPhones, iPads, everything is all produced in China. But of course, Apple has committed to shift its manufacturing plants back to the US, right? And that's where it's a bit of certainty that that it can be exempted from those massive tariffs, right? That will be kind of like charged if the goods are coming or imported from China directly. All right. So this is Taiwan Semiconductor right over here, TSM. All right. Should you think about getting back in? All right. Right now, well, I would say that the price now is 242. So you mentioned that you sold some at 233, right, Styler? I would say that resistance wise, just write it down. I think 250. 250 would be a really good psychological resistance level, right? So preferably, right, you could sell near 250 lah, right? Why? Because you can see that 250, it was where we were over the past 2-3 weeks, right? Near, come down, all right? In fact, yesterday we neared it, all right? 2 days ago, we were like near 230. I think maybe you sold like 2 days ago, but yesterday went up to near 250 again. So, all right, it would be better if you sell near resistance level, but never mind, all right? You got it at 233, which actually still okay lah, right? Still okay. I wouldn't say there's a need to get out and tidy yet, but let's think about where could the potential entry be, right? So very quickly, you can see that for TSM, right? I'll not go too far, but pump, bullish signal, pump, right? 2 bullish signals start moving up. First bearish signal came out in January, not even April, January came out already. Another one came out, it went down, all the way down. What happens? We got one bullish signal coming out as the first confirmation of the reversal. Does it make sense? All right. And the green 20 days moving average line that was going down, all right, actually started to turn up as another confirmation. Of course, we got 2 more new bullish signals that came out slightly later in June, all right, and it went up even more. All right. So now we are right over here at 242, right? The green line that was going up actually have started, let's see. So the green 20 days moving average line, I would say it is a bit flattening out. Does it make sense about? All right. Not really like, pointing up like what we saw previously. I mean, right, don't need to bluff ourselves. Up means up, flat means flat, right? So I think right now it is a flat, right? Which is, I think it's okay. It just means that we are back to some short-term consolidation, all right? From a support to a resistance level. So the question is that what could be the support level? Well, I would say that we may see some support here. 230, that was where we have been holding for the past 2-3 weeks. I could also turn on the trailing support level to get an idea, right, of where we actually must be above, all right, because this trailing support, as I say, it's been following, TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor, since $154, right? It follow it up as it move up, right? All the way until now, it is $226. So you follow it up, it give it the space, don't follow too closely, right? Let it breathe a bit, right? Then hopefully it move up higher, you follow some more, all right? And you can see that it is right over here at 225. So 225 to 230, I think that is where potentially some bargain hunting can come back again, especially if we see some bullish candlesticks coming out right over there. So candlestick would be another confirmation, right? So as I say, guys, I don't have time to share the whole framework, but we look at a few confirmations. We look at a few confirmations about the whole strategy, systematically, and that's where it could get a more conviction kind of trade, right, to get it, right? So if it does dip to near like 225 to 230, I think that could be very good entry levels, all the way back to 250, right? Just take note, I think 250 is a very key psychological resistance, right? If we break 250, we go to 251, 252, 255, right? We of course stay above it, don't come back down, right? Stay above it. We may even see a new 1GT bullish signal, and that could lead the next phase of upside. Targets could be revised all the way maybe to 280. Let's see, right? You could project it up all the way maybe to 280, maybe all the way to 200. That could be the next upside targets, right? So this is Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, right? TSM, I hope, Styler, right? You're still over here. Giving you a bit of a levels to take note, right? Anything above 225 to 230 still looks okay. Of course, if we do break down those support levels, then we would have a bearish signal. That's where you might want to be careful about. So far, as of now, haven't came out yet. All right, I don't know whether it will come out, but so far it looks pretty good. Supports are still holding, right? And one more thing, right? If you look at the longer term trend, look at the red and blue line, right? If the 100 days red line goes above the blue line, another confirmation that the longer term trend has turned up as well. All right, so let me pass on the mic to Z to cover the last US stocks for today.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think the last one that I'll be covering today, before we share our bonus stock, would be this by Vincent, right? Nomad Food, right? Actually, I've not seen this counter before, and just a quick glance over here, what does this company do? Right, so this company operates as a holding company, manufacture and sell frozen food. Okay, so it's a frozen food manufacturer company. Okay, so let's take a look at this. You mentioned that you are looking at this stock for a while, so perhaps I don't know, maybe are you thinking about buying, or are you thinking about selling? Because I'm not too sure if you're actually holding on to this stock. But let's take a look at some of the key levels and where are the levels that perhaps you can monitor. All right, so first thing first for Nomad, right? If I don't have to zoom out so far, maybe from 2024, we can actually just see that this counter has kind of like just been trading sideways, right? Up and down, up and down, up and down within a range. So it has, I would say, it's kind of like a sideways price action for this particular stock since like 2024. And the range that we are actually looking at is from this level, right? From $15 to about $20, right? Because this has been going on, up and down since 2024. As we can see, when prices approach the $15 support level, that is where when it's near it, right over here, near it somewhere over here, and right now it is here, right? I'm not too sure whether it will actually bounce back up at this point in time, because the thing is that this is a support level, but I would know that this definitely $15 is one of the levels that I would want to monitor for this particular stock. Because what if it breaks down, right, below the $15, then potentially what can we actually see, right? If it breaks down below the $15, right, potential downside, I would say, would be towards this level. If you base off the previous price action, you'll be somewhere near this $13 right over here, right? So if prices is unable to hold, because based on what we see, right, over the past, I think 2 days ago, right, just on the 6th of August, right, they actually released their earnings, and it is not that good, right, because price actually get down, and prior to that, we are already seeing two 1GT bearish signal coming out. So if you were to ask me whether tonight, next week, whether this $15 will hold, I don't know, right? I don't know. But if it does break down, potential downside towards $13 that is where I'm looking at now. If let's say price is unable to hold above the $15 at this point in time. All right. But if it can rebound, if it can rebound the $15, buyers come back to support these prices, then definitely I think this stock will be more suited, for like, I would say, a range trading, because like what I mentioned, price have been trading within this range, right, for at least more than 1 year, and the potential upside targets that we are looking at will be towards the $20 right over here, right over here. But I think what we want to see and what we want to have is to definitely have more confirmation, right? Like what we say as part of our checklist, right? Because like what Joey mentioned today, we don't have time to actually go through the entire framework and the checklist, but we actually do follow a checklist, right? And that is where, we also want to make sure that we have more confirmations in terms of, the moving averages, right? If I were to just talk about moving averages, let me just zoom in, right? We can see that the 20 days moving average is pointing down, right? And this 100 days, the red line is also pointing down. Plus, we get a 1G2, not just one, but two 1GT bearish signal. So, in a sense, based on the checklist, that is not a very good sign. We want to have more confirmation, such as positive confirmation, such as having a 1GT bullish signal, right? At least the moving averages doesn't point out. At least it goes sideways, right? At least we know that, the selling pressure is not so strong. Then that is where we can potentially think about positioning ourselves for entry. All right. So Vincent, I hope that helps for this particular stock. I think the crucial and key levels that perhaps you might want to set some alerts on your end definitely will be near the $15 right over here, which is the support level, and the resistance would be at the $20 mark. All right. So with that, that will be for Nomad. I'll pass the time back over to Joey to actually start sharing our bonus stock for today.
All right, thank you so much, Z. All right, thank you so much, Z. I think we have covered a total of like 16 stocks today. All right, so how many of you have got value? Type V for value, guys. If you have got value in today's AMAS session, especially if we have covered your stocks, let me know, guys. Type a V for value. If you've got value, you learn something about the strategy, you learn something about the indicator that we're using, maybe when to get in, maybe when to get out as well. Let us know, right? Type V for value if you got value. Let's see, right? Let's see who is joining us here. Type B for value, guys. Let us know, right? Let us know. Roland, let's see. Thank you so much. All right. Value as well. Yen, value. All right. So lots of value. Awesome, guys. I'm very glad that all of you got value out of this, right? Value, Benjamin, value, Anthony as well. All right. Vincent, thanks for your details. Detailed advice on nomad food. Thanks, Z, as well. Awesome, right? So a lot of value. Thank you so much. Glad that you guys got value. That's the whole key about these sessions, right? Just to make sure that we give you guys a quick opinion on your stocks, right? Not my stock, but your stocks, so that you have a better idea of what to do, right? Whether to sell, to buy, what price, what target, that kind of thing, right? So great value, right? Okay, so very good, guys. As I say, we don't have the time to cover the whole strategy, so very simple. What happens is that we'll place the link in the chat one more time, right? I have enrolled in your 1GT. Thank you so much, right? So if you want to kind of like learn a little bit more about the entire strategy, as I say, you can attend one of those free webinar, right? Free webinar, the link is right in the chat already. All right, and that's where we pretty much have a time, like about 2 hours to break it all down for you. It's not bits and pieces all over the place, but it's more systematic, step by step. All right, and then we combine it, we integrate it together. We'll show you the 1GT Pro indicator live as well after you understand what happens behind it. All right. So attend the free webinar, right? We have a free webinar. I think that will probably be the last one. Next one will be a few months' time. So attend the free webinar next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. All right, next Tuesday, 12th August, 7:30 p.m. The link is right in the chat. Click on it. You will come to this page right over here. And then the date's here, 12th August. 2025, all right? Next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., right? It's on Zoom, right? So register for it. That's where I can't wait to share with you guys a little bit more about the entire strategy, all right, and how perhaps you could have a tool that we've been using to analyze your stock and also these bonus stocks that are coming up, right, to guide you on not just about when to buy, but also maybe when to get out, right, when the time comes, so that you don't have to second guess, you don't have to think about what to do every time, you don't have to have like the FOMO emotions, all right, and all these things affecting your mindset, right? So that's how it keeps trading much more systematic, all right, just like what many of our graduates and mentees are doing as well. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on right now. Since a lot of you got value, let's move on to the next part, which would be the bonus stock for today. All right, so the very first bonus stock I'd like to share with you guys would be this company called Cisco Systems, right? Cisco System. The code is CSCO, right? CSCO right over here, right? So this was one of the stock that have came into our watch list, I would say, since like around April and May, right? You can see that very quickly. I mean, we talk about the trend each time. We want to be in the same direction as the trend, all right? And for this stock, since October last year, about 10 months back, well, we got the long-term trend actually starting to turn up. In fact, right, even before that, in August last year, about 1 year ago, we got two 1GT bullish signals coming out. It's not one, but two, right? Bullish signals coming out. It's a very good confirmation that the reversal is about to happen, all right? And true enough, there we go from here, all the way up, 32% in about 4 or 5 months, right? And then what happens, right? In March and April, well, a bit not so good. We got bearish signal coming out. The short-term trend also turned down. So if you ask me in March and April, I would say be patient, wait, all right? Because we're seeing a bit of selling still. Hang on, all right? Hold your guns, right? Step by step, don't rush, right? That's what I would say. But what happens is that in May, different story, right? The 1GT bullish signal actually came out. All right, and that is where, all right, the short-term trend, it was going down in March, April, down also. In May, suddenly wake up, become bullish, turn up, right? Right now, the green line, I would say, let's zoom in a bit, nearer to see. Let's see, right? So I would say that the green line right now, it is a bit flat, right? Maybe a bit flat, maybe starting to point up, maybe, right? It's only like 1-2 days as it attempts to break a very key resistance level that I'm going to talk about, but there are some signs of it at least pointing up. I mean, it's not down, I agree. It's not down. It's not as if it's like that. Like that, of course, I will not even cover this stock, right? But at least there are some signs of it, maybe pointing up, right? So that's why I say that this stock is in my watch list. We got a 1GT bullish signal coming out. Long-term trend, the red and blue, that one don't need to say, already up since last year, right? So long-term trend is up, short-term trend up, becomes sideways now, potentially going up as well, all right? You want to watch this very critical resistance level, all right? Write it down, $70, $70, right? That is a very key psychological resistance. You can see over the past 1 over month, we always near it and then come back down, near it and then come back down. Well, very hard to cross the level. A lot of sellers there, right? I don't know why, but every time you go there, always come back down, right? Support-wise, it is around the $66. So $66 to $70, like going up, down, right? But the point is that we may potentially attempt to break this $70. So yesterday is 69.90, almost 10 cents more, right? Then we might potentially test the 70. So I'm not too sure exactly when it will break 70, but what we could do is we can set some alerts, right? If you go above 70, right, whether is it 71, 70.5, 70, 70.8 around here, or 71, 72, right? That is where we could potentially see maybe even a new 1GT bullish signal. And that's where I would say that it could be another phase of the upside whereby targets could be raised all the way to even 75. Right, looking at this consolidation, right? It seems like it likes to do this consolidation range from here to here, maybe raise it up all the way, right? 75, after 75, maybe all the way to 80 as well, right? So that could be where targets could be raised, right? And you could write even more upside. Right, and what we could do is also to turn on the trailing support. As I say, right, for this one good trend pro indicator, right, one of the very powerful features, just one confirmation, right, will be the trailing support level that we could turn on. Of course, as I said, there's other advanced features. We don't have time to cover everything, okay? But if you want to find more, attend the free webinar. But we look at a total of 7 confirmations, right? So this is just one more confirmation. Let's turn it on quite clearly. You can see, right, quite clearly, the price is actually above. In fact, this one is what I draw, right? But if I don't draw this line, let me just delete it. It's actually above the trailing support level, which is around that $66 as well. Of course, there's a bit of space, right? Because this trailing support gives the stock space to breathe, right? If you're above it, then okay, right? So we're still above it. In fact, we neared it and then rebound from it again, right? So we're still above that trailing support level. So everything is all looking quite okay. I think we stay above 66, uptrend intact, a potential break of 70 can see the next phase of upside, and even a new 1GT bullish signal can appear for another confirmation. All right, so that is Cisco Systems, CSCO, pretty much the bonus stock I share for today. All right, and hope you guys got some value. You can put it in your watch list for even more upside. All right, so let me pass on the mic to Z to cover her top US stock. Z, all yours.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so for today, my bonus stock that I would like to share with you guys, that would be POWL Tower. So if you guys have been joining us for the past few sessions, right, I think this is not something new to you guys. But for those of you who are here for the first time, I think for this POWL Tower, we actually started covering this somewhere in July, right over here, right? And just FYI, POWL Tower is actually a healthcare infrastructure company, so they deal a lot with like senior housing operations and things like that. All right. So let's take a look at this stock and as to maybe give you a little bit of insights as to why this stock is definitely still in my watch list, and perhaps you can add into your watch list as well. All right. So first thing first, like I've always mentioned in my bonus stock segment, right? We always look at the trend, and always the stock that we usually go for will be stocks that are uptrending, right? Seldom we go for stocks that are in a downtrend, because the thing is that we always mention, as part of the 1GT framework, we want to be on the right side of the trend. The trend is our friend, right? We want to make sure that we are on the right side of the trend, and the stock needs to be in an uptrend, because why, if it's in a downtrend, why would you want to buy, right? So as you can see for POWL Towers, in terms of the trend, all of the 3 moving averages, green, red, and blue, they are all pointing up, right? They're definitely all pointing up. I don't have to explain much, right? All of you guys can see. Right, and when we first covered this in July, right, as you can see right over here, prices was kind of like just trading in a range for a couple of months, right? But even when that actually happens, right, the short-term trend, as we can see, it has kind of just flattened out, and go sideways. But at that point in time, when it was consolidating sideways for a couple of months, the longer-term trend, if you just take a look at these, the red and the blue line, is it still pointing up? Yes, it's actually still pointing up, right? And the thing is that whenever we are looking for uptrend, right, if the price, just shoot up all the way like that, I think you also be a bit scared lah. Also will be a bit scared lah, because the thing is that it's not sustainable, right? And what we are looking for in an uptrend is, sometimes it is good to have consolidation as well. Things like that is happening, like price consolidation before it actually push even higher, right? So this is actually a good sign, right? Sometimes when we see consolidation happening in an uptrend, it's actually a good sign. Okay, and we actually also got multiple 1GT bullish signal coming out right over here when we actually started first covering it. And price as of last night closed at about 169, right? Which is actually very near our resistance, right? Our resistance that we have drawn is somewhere near the psychological 170. So I would say at this point in time, prices definitely is within our profit taking zone, which is near the resistance. There's nothing wrong to take some profits, right? Especially so, those of you guys who, probably if you guys have been following and maybe you guys have entered somewhere, when it actually broke above the resistance right over here, right? You're probably sitting on about close to about 8% profits now. There's nothing wrong for you to actually take some profits near the resistance level, right? And plus the fact is that if prices can break and hold above 170 right over here, potential upside targets, what are we looking at, right? Simple projection up, I think we are looking at towards maybe about 185. Maybe even it can even maybe go up to 190 as well, which is one of the psychological levels. So the resistance zone could perhaps be from 185 to about 190. This would be one of the targets that we are looking at if prices can break and hold above, of course, the immediate resistance first near this 170, right? But like what I've mentioned, right? Like what I mentioned, because like you can see from July and mid of July to where we are at now, price have just kind of like, been keep going up, right? It has been very strong. It has just been going up. But I think what I would like to monitor as well is that, if prices, I would not be surprised if selling pressure come back, profit taking happen, prices came back down a bit, and if we can actually have some consolidation happening before it actually push even higher, I think that would make the uptrend even more sustainable, and it will be even better lah, because rather than, the stock just keep going up like what I mentioned, that is not very sustainable. And you will be a bit scared also because any point in time, the price could also crash back down. So with consolidation, at least we will know, where are the potential levels that buyers could actually come back in to support the prices. That's the whole reason why I always emphasize that, consolidation is not a bad thing, right? In fact, it's actually a good thing in an uptrend, all right? So if prices can break and hold above the 170, right, I think one of the potential zone of entries that we can take a look out for would be somewhere about here, right? That means slightly above the 170 if price can break and hold above the 170. But of course, like what I mentioned just now, over here, this level, right, the 150, close to this 155, 156, this level right over here, right, this could also be a potential zone of entries. But the thing is that, I don't know whether prices will come back to this level for you to actually buy, right? Because the market doesn't wait for you, right? But you can set price alert, right? So my advice would be probably you can actually set some price alert near this support zone level 1 over here, somewhere about this 155, 156, 157. I think this level potentially could be one of the potential zone of entry. The next one definitely would be above the 170 right over here. But of course, this would be, consider what we considered as a breakout strategy, right? And breakout strategy usually carry more risk and it's more risky. So just make sure, right, to actually have your stop loss plan in place. All right, to have your stop loss plan in place to actually protect your downside. Okay, because right over here, right, just something to highlight. I think next week they're actually giving out dividends as well, about 74 cents. So the thing is that sometimes prices might also adjust when they're actually giving out dividends. All right, so that's just something for you guys to take note for POWL Tower. It's definitely still in my watch list. These are some of the price levels or price zones that perhaps you can also take note of. Okay, so that would be for POWL Tower. I will pass the time back over to Joey to actually close off today's session.
All right, thank you so much, Z. All right, so that is Z's bonus stock, POWL Tower. Mine is a Cisco system. I hope all of you have got some value out of these two bonus stocks. Definitely want to put it in your watch list, right? Can you guys see yourself using the 1GT Pro indicator? Does it make sense so far? Can you see how every time you get a bullish signals plus a few other confirmations, and that's why we started to see the stock moving higher and higher, or maybe to get out as well. When we see a bearish signal, this type P for powerful, guys. If you can see that it's pretty powerful. I mean, every time you get a bullish signal plus a few other confirmations, and then there we go, right, all the way up, all right, to guide us, to alert us to get in and to position ourselves in the stock. Type P for powerful, guys. If you feel that this is a pretty powerful, right? Type P for powerful. Let us know, all right? If you feel that it's pretty powerful like this. Right? P, let's see, right over here, we have a ray typing powerful as well, right? I mean, I hope you guys can see yourself using this. Nothing complicated. Basically, you just need to know the name of the stock to type in the chat, all right? And I mean, to kind of like type it in the chart, right? Type in the chart and get an opinion in seconds, right? P. All right. So as I say, if you want to find out a little bit more, attend one of those free webinars next Tuesday. That's where we dive a little bit more about the entire strategy. All right. And in fact, if you want to kind of like have the link to test drive the 1 GT light indicator, right? I'll just place the link in the chat one more time, right? Z can just help me to place it. And that is where, as I say, we can go ahead to turn on this 1 GT light indicator, whereby it comes up with bullish and bearish signals. So it's a simpler version compared to the Pro. All right, you're just able to turn on and off the bullish and bearish signals. There's no other advanced features. All right, if you want a Pro, you'll attend a free webinar. That's where we'll dive into it a little bit more. All right, so yep, I think that's it, guys. We are pretty much coming to the end, of the AMAS live session. I hope all of you have got value over here today. All right, happy National Day to all of you. All right, have a good weekend. All right, celebrate your family National Day. For those of you who are going for the parade, great. All right, enjoy yourself for the fireworks and all that. All right, and I look forward to see you in our next AMAS session. That is next Friday. So next Friday will be 15th of August, and that will be back to the Singapore market, right? So today is the US market. So I say every Friday we change, right? Alternate, right? So today US, next Friday back to Singapore. So if you are looking at Singapore stock, then some of you ask about DBS, CRWD, that won't be next Friday. Sorry, today is only US. Okay, Ken? So I'll see you guys next Friday. One more thing I'll add, right? Okay, maybe let us know, guys, how many of you are actually clients of mine in Philips Securities, where I'm a broker, you have a trading account under me? This type of C for client, guys. If you are actually a client of mine in Philips Securities, right, you have a trading account under me, just want to acknowledge all of you and thank you for your support as well. Let me know, right? Let's see. Emily, thank you. Thanks, Dave, as well. Type C for client. If you're a client, just want to make sure that we do have a bit of, our clients over here as well joining us. Styler, definitely, right? Every week you're here. Colleen, client. Helen, client as well. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for support as well. Client, Andy. So we have quite a few of our clients over here as well joining us every week on our AMAS session. So just one quick note right over here, guys. If you are not yet a client of mine in Philips Securities, all right, and essentially as a client, we do share some of those top Singapore ideas by WhatsApp daily, right, for free and no additional cost, right? So you might get some of those ideas much faster by WhatsApp daily, some of top updates, private trainings. Check it out, right? The link is right in the chat, right, as to how you can become a client of mine, like Dave, like Batguan, like Dylan, all the clients over here. Thank you so much for your support, right? So join us, all right? Find out how you can become a client. The link's right, check, click on it. Rajan, client as well. And that's where you can find out what are some of the top Singapore ideas to actually put in your watch list as well, right? Especially if you are trading. I mean, you to trade, you need a trading account. So I'm not too sure where you're trading or which broking platform you're using, right? But if you're kind of like trading and then you don't get any service from your own broker, nobody send you any idea or video training, WhatsApp, nobody call you, nobody WhatsApp you, nothing. You just own self log in, own self trade, own self choose one stock, own self buy. The link is in the chat, right, guys? Check it out. Join many of our clients right over here, and we look forward to work together with you a bit closer as well. Right, so Joey here. Happy National Gang. Happy National Day, guys. All right, we'll see you in our next Friday AMAS Live. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.